I'm pure raging. I'm a fucking Carl Froch and his big nose. Ah!
That was the death rattle of Brian King, late host of this podcast. Welcome everyone to the 66th, I think, edition of the Next Week Pod.
1 year anniversary pod, Shep, don't forget.
It's our birthday. Oh, I should have put that in the description.
Welcome everyone to the 66th.
Yeah, well done, whoever's got that on.
Of the Next Week Pod.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't know the live stream was so far behind. Right. So it's our birthday, in case anyone didn't know. It was yesterday, wasn't it, officially?
Yesterday.
So we've done 66 shows in 52 weeks, which isn't bad, considering there were like long stretches when we couldn't be asked and didn't do anything.
You feel like Christian late.
How have we got to 66? It doesn't make sense.
We was doing 2 a week to start with, weren't we?
Yeah, for like a month.
Yeah, we had the Monday roster and the Thursday roster, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because we had Terry kicking off about Mondays and Pop's going to kill people about Thursdays.
Yeah, we had 2 squads, and now we can barely get 4 people on the call now. We're blacklisted by everyone. Coogan won't be a guest anymore, even though Cal really wants him to be, because they're good mates.
Grey bastard.
Right, yeah, so just quickly, joined by Sam Carpenter. Boxing Wales is Dewey Powell and Cal Stones. We might have a couple of others on.
Donny Baseball said he might come on later on, didn't he, Shep?
Yeah, Donny Baseball might be on a bit later, and Terry, a.k.a. Rocco, might join us, he said, if he can be bothered.
Pop said he might as well.
What's he doing tonight? He's listening to fucking Michael Redmond's podcast, isn't he? He's promised him.
Yeah, his one-man band podcast.
Insane. And the voice you heard on the intro was 100% definitely Brian King, who is unfortunately still absent for personal reasons. We would like to extend our best wishes to Brian and his family as he battles against homosexuality, and we hope that he's able to overcome this choice that he's made, this evil choice. Brian's off to Ibiza next week, I think, and he's probably going to go AWOL for a few weeks after that. So don't expect him back anytime soon, but you never know, he might show up in the autumn at some stage when he wanders home. Right, so guys, was there anything from the last weekend you wanted to talk about? Were there any fights at all? My mind's a blank. I don't remember watching anything.
There was the Jap cards, but me and Cal and Dewey probably aren't hardcore enough to watch them. So.
I didn't watch that fight either. I heard it was quite good, but I haven't watched it. So in that case, we can do previews, and we can also do any news from the week, I suppose. Shall I rattle off a few topics? Just jump in if you're at all interested by any of these. We've got Danny Garcia apparently turning down Andre Berto because he wants to fight John Molina. We've got... Yeah, he's going after Molina, and Berto's said he's moving on from the talks. Cotto against Peterson at 150. That's been talked about now. Another on pay-per-view as well, which is going to be good.
See, that one, Shep, it got quite a negative press because everyone hates Cotto, but I think he's a lot better than a washed-up Daniel Geale.
Yeah, but pay-per-view, mate, that's the thing.
Oh yeah, but we don't pay for it anyway. Yeah, we get it on Box Station, don't we? So
yeah, that's
not that hard.
That's what happens when you clearly have like really good advisors or handlers that they've managed to get so many Cotto fights on pay-per-view.
It's better than fucking Gamboa anyway, which was rumored.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I mean, Peterson could win some rounds. I'm not sure if he'd beat Cotto. I mean, people forget Peterson's never weighed in at the full 147, let alone at light middleweight. But yeah. True. Right, and I'll tell you what. Should we just shoot through this quickly and then we can get to Saturday's stuff as the main event. But on Friday we've got that PBC card, haven't we? And I cannot remember who's headlining it.
The Latin Snake.
Oh yeah, it's Moore against Jacobs 2, isn't it? As the headline, which no one really gives a shit about. But a really good fight on the undercard. Richard Comey, I'm not sure exactly, but
Comey.
No, but the Americans, Al Bernstein says Comey.
No one gives a fuck what they say.
Yeah, but he's usually right with pronunciation.
I don't care.
I don't know.
It's Comey.
All right, Richard Comey against Robert Easter Jr. for the vacant IBF belt at lightweight. Bartholomew's old belt, which I think is a really, really good fight. If anyone's got anything to say about that, or Jacobs Mora, then yeah, please go for it. I might stay up for this one, I'm tempted.
I think the main event's going to be horrendous. It'll just be a repeat of the first one.
What, two knockdowns in the first round?
Yeah, I don't think it'll last very long.
Really?
I don't think Mora will go many rounds. I just think he'll fuck up again and fall apart like he did last time. Hopefully his knee don't collapse. But I can't see him winning. I think Danny Jacobs will knock him out relatively quick. I
mean, a legit knockout of Mora is quite a good result because he's pretty tough and he's a good defensive fighter. But maybe his ankle goes again. Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't fought since the last one, has he?
I don't think he's ever been stopped apart from that fight either.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, so a Jacobs KO would be a decent result. Like, as much as I think Jacobs is, the definition of a paper champion in the, fighting in the division he's fighting in. But yeah, I mean, just hopefully Jacobs just wins it and then forgets about that level of fight and actually moves on to fighting Saunders or Canelo or someone else. Like, you just want to see unifications, don't you? But although apparently
it's not a real belt anyways, so you don't really want to see unifications with that. You just want to see it go away.
Yeah.
You want to see him fight Golovkin and then that belt just be dissolved.
Well, they said this week that they finally ordered the unification.
No, they've ordered a tournament. Well, they're going to order a tournament. No, they're not ordering unification. They're going to do a middleweight tournament following the success of the heavyweight one they've done. They want Eubank Jr. in it. Obviously, Jacobs or Mora winner. Golovkin and another one, which they haven't named. Well, they might have named it, but I've missed it. But they want the winner of Golovkin Brook. Well, not Golovkin Brook, because Brook won't win the title. But Golovkin will have to face Danny Jacobs, and then Eubank will be fighting someone else, and then the winner of these two fights will fight for the, I don't know, they probably call it the super champion, and then make another regular and interim. So we'd be back to square one when this is finished with, but that's what they're planning on doing.
Apparently the chat's not working again.
Yeah, but didn't they do that with the heavyweights?
No, that's what I said, following the great success of that, where they haven't managed to make one fight.
Yeah, fuck that.
They literally haven't made a single fight, have they? Apart from, I suppose, Fury and Klitschko.
Brown and Oquendo has been agreed, hasn't it?
No.
Is it?
They're trying to work it out. It's not been agreed yet, but they've also nearly agreed a fight between Ustinov and King Kong as well. I was hearing.
No.
It's nothing to do with Golden Boy anymore. It'd be going to Russia.
Left Golden Boy he's fucked his.
Yeah, he's left.
He's gone back to that.
No. Someone's paid him out. So someone with money's bought him out the contract.
Yeah, but he's gone back to his old promoter, though. Is what I mean. I can't remember what they're called.
It's one of the Russian lot, isn't it? It must be.
We'll get this. No. It's the promoter that he was originally handled by when he turned over, and then Golden Boy took on like more control of his career. What's happened is Ryabinski has won the purse bid, and so Ortiz now has to go to Russia to fight for that belt or whatever it was that he was going to get before. I feel like it's not even. It's Dimitrenko, not Ustinov. I think.
No, it's Ustinov.
Dimitrenko's fighting Parker, isn't he?
Yeah, it's Ustinov, mate.
Let me look this up.
No, it's Ustinov.
I believe you. I just want to know what.
Because Ustinov's with Vlad Hurinov. He's not with Ryabinski. He's with Mad Vlad. Because the whole reason Fury didn't go with Warren for the first Vlad fight was because it was going to be Hurinov who was paying for it, and he wanted all sorts of crazy options, like he'd have to fight Ustinov twice and ridiculous stuff like that.
Luis Ortiz parts ways with Golden Boy, right? And where's he gone back to? Ustinov is Ryabinski. Okay, fine. And they won purse bids. Blah blah blah.
Ustinov's Hurinov.
It says he's Ryabinski on this. It's not Boxing News.
I swear he was with that Hurinov, or he must have left him. But I swear he was before.
This is why you should never trust Carpi.
Never trust a Bristolian.
A liar.
And a cheat.
Yeah, but either way, it looks like he's I don't know, sabotaged his own career there. I mean, Golden Boy treated him pretty fucking well. He got a load of HBO headline gigs. He got popped for steroids and then was fighting for belts again within a year. Like, they did pretty well by him, and apparently that wasn't good enough. And
well, they couldn't get him a fight, could they?
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's going to be able to get him a fight.
They got him some good fights, though, especially the Jennings fight.
The Jennings fight, I'll give you. But
that
after
was a really good fight. Perfect.
Tony Thompson, not really. And then from Tony Thompson onwards, he's had nothing.
Yeah,
but it's not Golden
got
Boy. I don't think anyone can get in the fight because of his ability and the reputation that comes with him.
Huranov's his manager, not his promoter. There you go.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, they missed the deadline, and he's definitely gone back to this really Dade Promotions, DADE. So he's gone back to Dade Promotions, who were put up on the purse bid against Ryabinski, the billionaire, and surprisingly lost them. And now Ortiz has to go to Russia and basically probably knock Ustinov out if he wants to win, which he should do. To be fair, he should still.
He's been on a Russian card before, hasn't he, King Kong?
Yeah. But you think he's made it hard for himself there by having to sort of go over to Russia and do the business there. You saw what they did to Lucas Brown. They stitched him up and poisoned his drug sample, didn't they?
I don't think they'll have to taint King Kong's. I think that might be tainted anyway.
Yeah, maybe that's
save him a job.
So he's got a built-in excuse for when he fails another test. But yeah, that was a weird one. So that was the news, and then there's not been much else really, has there? It's been dominated by the card on Saturday. But yeah, does anyone have
Tyson Fury news? That was bigger news than any of this shite.
What, getting reconfirmed or whatever?
Well, yeah. They say it's a William Miller offering odds of, which is weird that they're offering odds on the fight actually happening, but they're offering 1-4 for it to happen. So I don't know anyone in the world that'd be backing that at 1-4, and 7-2 for it not to happen. So I think that's worth 20 quid of anyone's money because them fucking gypsies are mad on the drugs, aren't they? So.
But you think surely it has to happen eventually. Fury can't do anything else. Surely he wouldn't
Vlad's taking him. They're taking him to court. He's getting taken to court for drugs. Vlad's taking him to court. They've got loads of shit with the press that they're trying to blame everyone because obviously they didn't take the drugs. It's because the gypsies and it comes in the blood when they're born, and no one can say anything about them anymore. And they said that the prices would be cheaper. But yet the prices are the exact same, even though Peter Fury had to go at he were having to go at fans for saying, "Oh, it's a bit too much," and he was saying, "Oh, I can only do as much as I can. We've always been good to the fans, and it's back to 400 quid for upper tier fucking seating." They're an absolute joke. They're going to have about 8,000 there to watch the best and second best.
I don't think they're going to get 8,000 there, Cal.
Well, maybe, and then a week before, a week after, whenever Joshua fights in Manchester. It'll be rampacked, him against Stavern, with fucking 2 whales, Dillian White against Chisora on undercard. It's a fucking joke.
I really want to see. I think I'd actually like to see Chisora versus Price. I actually think that would be quite a fun fight where one of them would almost definitely get knocked out either way.
Well, if they manage to get Parker versus Price, I don't mind that. Price will get laid out.
I think Parker would beat him pretty easily, though, don't you?
I think Parker's too quick for him. He'd be scared. I think Price would be scared to let his hands go, whereas Chisora
Chisora can't take a punch anymore either. Neither of them can take a punch anymore. So
he did all right against Pula. I know he looked hurt quite a lot.
Punch though. He can't punch at all. Price can still punch a bit, even if he's terrified to throw anything. I would actually go and see, probably if it was in London, Chisora versus Price. I think that's a really fun 5-round fight where someone is definitely going to get KO'd. But they're not making that. They're making they'll feed both of them to Dillian White in order to set up some stupid fucking rematch.
Well, see, after the AJ fight, I bought into Dillian White, and I'm feeling more and more stupid every time I see him. But he's fucking wank. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he beats fucking Chisora.
If they were the same age and this was prime Chisora, Chisora would have destroyed him.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think Chisora's quite. I know he maybe can't take a punch anymore, but he's quite hard to land on because he kind of bores in, puts his head down, and swings.
I really think he's past it though. He was awful against Pulev, but do you remember the second Fury fight? He was so bad.
Yeah, but he was awful against Pulev. Fucking Dillian White against Allen, who was literally a heavy bag. I think he threw about 50 punches. And how bad was that?
I'd really fancy Ian Lewis to even beat Dillian White.
Really?
Yeah, I quite like Ian Lewis.
They're trying to make that fight, though, aren't they, for the British?
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Something about Dillian White that really doesn't convince me. I used to think he was quite decent, but as soon as after the Joshua fight, he said words to the effect of, "Oh, I wasn't in great condition." And I thought, you had like 5 months to prepare for this fight, and if you're not in good condition, like, fitness should be his very last excuse. But just the fact he referenced that, I just thought there's something missing, clearly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think.
And then he said after the fight against Dave Allen, he wanted to prove his fitness and show he can box throughout the rounds. I thought, what? I don't know. I've never known a heavyweight wanting to prove their fitness. Heavyweight boxing is usually about knocking people out.
And at the end of the day, like Dave Allen, he might actually have a really good chin, and that's fair enough. But he didn't even like hurt him at any point in the fight. He never looked like in trouble. So, like, you'd think that you'd be able to fucking at least put a dent in someone, even if you're not going to stop him, or land with some nice punch. He'd land with one decent shot, and then he'd miss with the next. It was fucking horrible. I only watched 6 rounds. I had to turn it off. But
yeah, I couldn't finish it. I didn't watch the whole thing. Yeah. Awful. But it's a real shame that Dave Allen's retired from boxing. I mean, I'm devastated by that news. Really wanted to see him fight again.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he'll be back.
Hopefully he'll fight Joshua next year in a massive 50-50 fight. Right. We're getting into, I can feel it, we're getting into sarcastic Hearn territory. And we've got a lot to say about Hearn. That'll probably take up the next about 45 minutes of the pod. So
You can tell we're really not enjoying all the other subjects because we're so disillusioned with things this week.
I haven't, just sort of talking vaguely about it, I haven't been this kind of, if it wasn't the fact that I really like watching Golovkin fight, if this was like Mayweather coming over in a fight that we all knew he was going to win, I think I'd be really sick of it by now, because the nonsense that has come out of pretty much everyone at Sky's mouth in the last week has just been...
Not just Sky, all GGG's team are saying they're full of shit as well.
Yeah, but they kind of have to say it though, don't they?
Why do they? They're not selling it.
But I mean, he's getting a really good payday to come over here, and Tom Loeffler, I've noticed Tom Loeffler, he's never, in any of the interviews I've seen, he's never been saying like, I've never heard him say this is a really dangerous fight for Golovkin, this is a really tough fight. He said like, this is a great event, this is going to be a great show. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's being
he's always like, and then we go on to the Canelo, the big one next year, and all the questions are always about Canelo. It's not from fucking British media, because they just get on Hearn's dick and ride it as long as they can.
Well, up until today, Abel fucking Sanchez has been in full salesman mode, saying it's Kennedy's toughest fight.
He talks a lot of shit.
Yeah. Who was the guy that he was training?
Carson Jones?
No, it was someone else, and they were fighting against Kovalev.
Mohammedi, he trained.
Yeah,
Mohammedi, and he was saying
successful partnership.
He was saying
fights.
He was saying that he knew how Kovalev trained, and he had all the answers, and it was going to be a 50-50 fight. He just shouts. He don't give a shit. He'll say anything. Like, he just seems like a fucking guy that only cares about Golovkin. Really, everyone else.
Yeah, he's a weird one, Sanchez, because I swear, like obviously Golovkin, he's very impressive whenever they're together, because he clearly does have a game plan with Golovkin. It's not a case of like, bang him to the body.
Yeah.
Keep the tempo up. Like, he's actually giving him specific instructions every round. I rewatched the Curtis Stevens fight last night, and he was giving Golovkin really specific instructions every single round. But you look at Sanchez training other fighters, and he loses like 90% of them. Like, he had Barrera, didn't he, against Ward? He just like lost every round. And he had Mohammedi, who's been knocked out twice in the last week.
I didn't think Barrera was that bad.
No, but he probably lost every round, though. Like, I know.
He is against Ward. He is against one of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
But I always say the same. Like, I think it's a lot more the fighter than the trainer. Trainer can improve you 5 or 10%, but at the end of the day, it's easy to fucking be Golovkin's trainer when anything you tell him to do, he can do it to a T.
Yeah, and like a lot of the guys will admit, Floyd is obviously the best example, but guys like Roy Jones have said at certain points in their prime, they basically just trained themselves, and they knew exactly what they were going to do each fight. And like having a good brain is part of being an elite fighter. And yeah, if you're genuinely clueless without a guy like Joe Gallagher in your corner, then you're just not that good. Like, you should be able to sort of understand how your route to victory a little bit. I think Paul's fucked off. He jumped on for a minute. Press pass, come back.
That's why I always worry about when fighters like Martin Murray used to say, "Oh, I don't watch boxing. I don't even like it." It's that's fair enough. You don't have to like it, but I think you kind of missing out. You're missing out on a fair bit of like knowledge and stuff, which could help you in your own fights.
Yeah, you always think if they're that good, having never watched the sport, you always think like, well, just fucking watch it, and then you'll be like 10% better. Yeah. And it's like the footballers who hate football. You know, you're just sitting there thinking,
what was that? Like Cameroonian left? Was it Astu Akoto?
Astu Akoto looks like, yeah, I've like never sat down and watched a game of football. Like, I don't enjoy it. And it's like, mate, you're playing in the Premier League. You could be like one of the best players in the world if you actually watched a bit of football. You
do wonder like how we would have benefited Martin Murray against Martinez if he'd watched like De La Hoya against Trinidad, where letting the fight slip away from you in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah,
I think tactically Murray's always been very naive, hasn't he? And maybe that's partly as a result of not watching enough of the sport. Like he doesn't seem very crafty when he's in the ring.
And when he's in there, fighters like Golovkin, no, I don't think the trainers win the fights for him. They just keep him on sort of like the straight and narrow, and they keep him on that route to victory. I just think it's just important not to have a dope in your corner where they'll lose you the fight. Yeah,
exactly. You don't want like that guy. What was his name? The one who gave Tyson that blown up medical glove instead of an end swell. You don't want some idiot like that who genuinely can lose you the fight, or a Joe Gallagher where he can genuinely put you in hospital and end your career, like he did with John Murray. Gallagher's a cunt. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Shall we go up the card from the bottom? Because I feel like this is like tantric sex, Carby. I know how much you like tantric sex, where you
go from the bottom
build up to the end. So
we'll go from the bottom of the like serious fights, and then
Paul Smith. Well, Paul Smith's not even going to be televised, and he's not a fucking poster. So,
I mean, like Haskins Hall, and then Edwards, and then the main event.
Haskins Hall is not below Edwards on the card, Cal. You disrespectful. Fuck's sake.
No, that'll be chief support. Yeah, maybe Conor Benn, but
no, I think the opening fight on TV will be Conor Benn. Does anyone give a shit about that?
No, I think the opening card will be Casemiro. Then it'll be Hall thingy.
Conor Benn will be above Edwards, really?
They chuck him on, just before the main event. They've done it.
What about Gavin McDonnell? He might be low down. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he won't be on telly, surely.
They're starting at fucking 6 o'clock. Everyone's going to be on TV.
Paul Smith isn't.
Yeah.
I know that.
I'm out anyway. I don't know why I'm fucking.
You get it free. You get it free 6 to 7.
I don't give a fuck.
You're not watching it, mate. No.
I'm going to go to the pub at 10. Well, I'll be in the pub all day, but I'll go to a pub with Sky Sports on at 10 and watch the Golovkin.
Okay, right. We've got so it's Conor Benn is actually lowest. This is according to the Matchroom's website. Conor Benn is four round contest against some journeyman. Craig Richards against some twat, 3 minute. That's a 6 rounder. Kid Galahad against Salvini. No, his brother cheated. It wasn't him. He was stitched up, right? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. That's an 8 rounder. It doesn't look like that's going to be televised. Then you've got Gavin McDonnell against that. Gavin McDonnell is fighting an 8-2 18-year-old out of like Venezuela. It's embarrassing. The guy's had I think he's 6-2. I think he's had less than 10 fights. So that'll be great because Gavin McDonnell's a real action fighter. Always delivers drama and the knockout.
Can I ask Dewey something? Because you get involved and interview fighters and shit. Do these little lads like him? How much are they getting? No, the fella that's coming over, the journeyman over. How much are they getting paid? Because they must cost an absolute bomb just flying the bastards over.
Just before you answer, Dewey, just to give you context, this guy is 6-2. He's from Nicaragua. He's 18. He made his debut in September last year.
You'd pay him as much as he's worth, which is not a lot, is it? You're right that he'll have costs coming over. Just with flights, obviously accommodation. But what they save money on when they bring someone like that over is that he'll be lucky if he has one guy with him. He certainly won't have 2 trainers, or he won't have a cutsman. It wouldn't be a surprise to see the house second to his corner because it's cheaper. Matchroom will employ someone just to do but effectively have a second license and do the bucket.
Just give him tips and that.
Yeah, so they'll minimise costs that way. What would you pay him for a 10-rounder with Gavin McDonald? Probably, I know fighters at small hall level who fight 10 round. They fought 10 rounders for like £1,200. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, this guy's, without being sort of racist or anything, like he's from Nicaragua. Would he might get $1,000 or $2, right? That would be about it.
Yeah, I
$1,000 or $2 and then expenses, like.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed if he had more than 2,500, and that's the top end of what he's likely going to get, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Gavin McDonald won't. I don't think you'll get miles more. You might get like $6,000 or $7,000 to fight an easy fight like that.
Yeah, because he's treading water, isn't he? Because he's got an eliminator or something coming up. Yeah. Paul Smith against Daniel Reggie is the one above that, and we know that Smigger's on big money because he's a world level fighter, and Smigger will be getting $500,000 easy.
What has he got on Eddie Hearn?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? He must have.
Because like everyone knows that he's a waste of space, and he's never ever going to win a big fight or even a medium-sized fight. But yeah, he keeps getting on unless he's saying like, if you don't keep me on, me, Callum, and Swift, you're all leaving.
I have a theory that he's using Callum to hold Hearn to ransom because Hearn fucking loves Callum.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think Callum likes Hearn at all. I've said this before on the pod. He always looks really uncomfortable when Hearn's like giving it the big one into the mic and saying, this guy's the best super middleweight in the world, blah, blah, after he's just beaten like an Argentinian.
Yeah.
And Callum always looks really uncomfortable with it. You never see him being pally with Hearn. And I reckon Smith is saying like, Callum doesn't like you. And if I don't sort of stitch this together, Callum is going to fuck off and go over to America or go to war.
Because at the minute it just feels like he's just getting every couple of months. Here, have $6,000-7,000. Here, have $6,000-7,000. You're just paying him to. He's not going anywhere. His career.
You're underestimating Daniel Rigi. It's the first person Paul Smith has fought with a winning record since he beat. Well, the last person he's beat with a winning record since Tony Dodson.
No, I'm not. I think Rigi will beat him. I'm just saying.
Do you actually?
I'm going to put some money on it. He can't be. He can't be any less likely to win than good old Garrido. And
by all accounts, Smith looked. It wasn't televised on the Bellew undercard, but by all accounts, he did not look good. Like he was
getting lit up when he
got into a proper war with a journeyman on 2 days' notice. That is mental. And then he genuinely says with a straight face afterwards, I feel like I should be fighting the winner of Zuger against De Carolis in a stadium in Germany. And it's like, mate, honestly, it's a dangerous level of delusion. And it just sets such an awful precedent that these guys can, like you say, Cal, not fight a guy with a winning record in 3 years and expect to get headline stadium fights for world titles. It's insane. Like,
I listened to Paul Smith on Gareth A. Davies' podcast not so long back, and they basically said to Paul Smith, like, why are you still fighting? He went, I'm just taking over. I'm waiting for a call from Germany.
Yeah.
Like, are you for real?
Yeah. It's so. Has he got something on Germany as well, do you reckon? He's got like something on the Sauerlands or something. No. Paul Smith's got like he's like holding the entire world to ransom.
He must have like a private tape of Calla, Sauerland, and Eddie Hearn just in the toilets sniffing shitloads of coke up or something.
Off Coogan's arse, yeah.
Blowing smoke up Coogan's arse.
Off Coogan's erect penis, doing a massive line, right, Cal?
Yeah.
Tweeting that. Right, next one up is Callum Smith in a 12-rounder for. I think he's defending his WBC silver belt against Norbert Nemez Sapati from Hungary. Hungary is the home of champions. Quality fighters come out of Hungary.
Hasn't won. No, he's been outside of Hungary 4 times and lost 3.
Yep. Yeah, I had a look at his record. Pretty funny. Very few knockouts as well. I've noticed that Smith has faced very, very, very light hitting opponents since he fought Fielding, almost exclusively. Like guys with KO percentages sort of under 30%. And you think it wouldn't be hard to match him with a guy who had a good KO ratio but was shite. But I'm still convinced that Smith doesn't take a punch that well. I've got it in the back of my head that he's a bit like Groves. He might have a bit of glass in his jaw somewhere. But yeah, so but it's perfect prep, isn't it? Because, as Hearn's told us 1,000 times this week, The mandatory for Badou Jack is getting called next week. Presumably, if De Gale and Jack can't come to an agreement, Callum will fight Badou Jack. And this is just perfect preparation for him. I mean, Norbert has a very similar style to Jack. They're on a very similar level in terms of quality. That Argentinian midget guy he fought last time out, very similar to De Gale. So Callum is really getting great preparation for when he's fighting the top level. I mean, right, guys? Do you think he's been brought along well? I think he's been. I think these are perfect learning fights, aren't they, for Callum?
If he's not ready after this, he's never going to be, is he?
I mean, this is exactly the type of. This is the equivalent of the sort of. This is like the George Groves versus sort of Kenny Anderson. Like it's that tough gatekeeper level fight that you have to get through in order to break into the world scene. This is exactly the same for Callum Smith. It's a very dangerous fight. Could easily lose.
Do you know what Callum Smith's done? Right, he's had a fucking career out of beating the same level of opponent about fucking 12 times.
Yeah.
Like what is the difference? We've got it up now. Like that Biose fella, yeah, who he fought 8 fights ago.
He fought him like 3 years ago, didn't he, or something? Yeah.
2014, but he would have beaten 1, 2, probably would have lost to Sejleka, 3, would have lost to Ibrase, probably would have beaten fucking Fielding.
Yeah,
and he would have beat Reynoso. So the guy that he fought fucking 2.5 years ago would have beaten more than half of the guys he's fought since. How's that like progression?
It's awful. I don't know what they're doing with him, especially if they have so much faith in him and they believe that he's as good as he is. Like, why isn't Hearn getting him a fight that he will genuinely learn from against a guy like Anthony Dirrell? Or like, if Hearn believes he's that good, then surely this is the time when you invest in him and you overpay a little bit to get a couple of opponents over that can really give him the rounds, but not the rounds like that cab driver gave him, where he's just surviving on the ropes for 6 rounds. Rounds where he's actually learning stuff.
That guy that knocked Badou Jack out, someone like him.
Shep, it doesn't matter. He's got the trump card in his corner. It doesn't matter who he faces.
What, the arm?
He's got Joe Gallagher in his corner. He's gonna win. Simple as that.
Joe Gallagher MBE. Soon to
Trainer of the year.
Do you reckon if Crawler wins against Linares, Joe Gallagher will complain about not being included on the New Year's honours list? I feel like that's the sort of thing he would do. He would say that, like, boxing's always getting overlooked. Or he'd want to be nominated for Sports Personality of the Year or something. I'm so angry about this. Because it's like Hearn, and Hearn and Gallagher have the same effect, where they make me hate fighters that I don't hate. Like, I have no problem with Kell Brook, but I want him to lose so much now because of Hearn. And I've got no issue with Callum Smith. He just seems like a normal bloke. But I want him to get knocked out every time he fights because of Gallagher, and same with Crawler. I want Crawler to lose.
They're so fucking insular. Like they've got their group of like 20 in their fucking stable or whatever, and the trainers, and then they've got like the 300 like proper followers, like Big Matchroom, Gallagher, whatever fans, and it's all just everyone blowing smoke up each other's arse as much as possible, and that's why they can't fucking take any criticism because they've never had any. Because they've been hearing that they're the best fighter in the world every day for the last fucking 3 years, whilst fighting absolute fucking shite. Boxing's a terrible sport. I'm so glad NFL's starting tonight, so I don't have to hardly watch it anymore.
It does annoy me. I wish HBO would get back into a regular.
They're pulling their money out. PBC put on about one good fight every 2 months, and they've got like 50% of American fighters.
But the problem is PBC do consistently put on fights like Easter versus Commie, where neither guy's particularly famous, but it's a decently matched kind of B-level fight. PBC do put those on quite often. Like, what was the one? Not the Guerrero card, but there was a card like maybe a month ago or so where there were no big names on it, but it was sort of decently matched, fairly competitive fights, whereas Hearn just doesn't give us that. He just gives us these. If you look at like what are the odds on the home? Edwards and Brook are the only hometown fighters who are underdogs, right? They must be. All the others are massive favourites.
I'll get it up now. I'm on. I've got it up anyway.
Actually, I suppose Stuart Hall would be underdog, wouldn't he? But that's he's being offered a he's getting a shot at the world title. So it's a kind of different situation. But like,
is this that Martin J. Ward, the one that got a proper lucky draw when he got dropped twice and still managed to get a draw, and then he beat him in the rematch?
Martin J. Ward is like the most boring. I can't remember because his career is so boring.
Right, well, I'll tell you the odds here. Gavin McDonald 1-200, Callum Smith 1-200, Conor Benn 1-200, Martin J. Ward 1-3, Kid Galahad 1-100, and then Stuart Hall's 3-1, Kell Brooks 5-1, and Edwards is nearly a fucking pick'em now.
There's been some money come in on Edwards, hasn't there? That's very close now. I'm glad I got my bet on Casemiro when the odds were a bit better.
Were you on about Martin J. Ward then?
Yeah.
He drew with Maxi Hughes and then beat him in the rematch.
But he didn't draw, did he, the first time? He lost.
No, he drew, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a draw, but it was...
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
He went down twice, didn't he?
I can't remember.
I've got it up on box right now. He was given a count he got knocked down in the second round.
Right.
I know the second one he won, but he retired. But because it was after 4 rounds, it went to points and he won that way.
Was it ears or something like that?
I don't know. I think it was like a badly broken nose or something.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, he got dropped in the first fight. I think.
I'm not sure I agree with pulling out of a fight if you're a boxer with a broken nose. What the fuck do they expect? Go on,
It depends how bad it is, though, doesn't it? I mean, it never bothered Brian Rose, and his nose caves in with a gust of wind, doesn't it?
Yeah, he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, and if you look at
Cleverly's fucking nose against Van Fire. He couldn't breathe for 6 rounds. He didn't pull out.
When I think of like people not pulling out, the obviously one you go to is Arthur Abraham in it with his jewel like twisted around his face, but crying in the corner, and he wanted to pull out, and his trainer's going, "No, you fucking stay in there, mate."
Or if you look at like Soto Grass is fighting on Saturday, isn't he? And if you look at the state of that guy's nose, it's like horizontal, basically.
Get a nose job. See Mr. Frotch's surgeon.
Mr. Frotch.
That'll sort you out.
That was quite a good question. Might be one for the listeners. Tweet us in what you think the answer is. When questioned about the nose, which he probably will be at some point by like a lads mag or something, will Frotch blame his old nose on every single loss in his career? Especially, or will he just deny that he's ever had a nose job? I think he'll probably just deny that it's ever happened, and get really annoyed when people question it.
You know what'll happen, because whenever we've conversed with him in a WhatsApp chat, his go-to response is, "Guess my net worth." That's what he'll say if anyone questions his nose. He'll say, "Well, how much money am I worth?" He's
asked us several times in private to guess how much money is in his bank. The answer is probably a lot fucking less than yesterday if you got that nose job, you twat.
I said 10 million and he laughed, and he was like, "Get real" or something.
I think it will be a bit more than that because he's invested it quite well, and Frotch has never been like a boozer or a partier or anything. And also he's Hearn is on record as saying this. He is like one of the stingiest cunts he's ever worked with. Like he just never spent any money.
He give us the classic Joshua versus Matt Legg on Groves 2 undercard, so you've got to thank him for that one.
Do you remember in the chat when I asked him why he never spent any money on the undercards? And his answer was, because it was all about me. And I thought, but yeah, he was a very demanding, financially demanding as a fighter. But, fair enough, he's made his money.
I actually like him a lot more now he's done. And we know he's not going to come back because everything he says, you're just not sure if he's taking the piss or that's how he actually is. And I think he likes that. Like, no one really knows.
He's a troll, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good at it as well.
What was it he called, Joe? Kawasaki in the chat, Joe the Snow or something, wasn't
it? Yeah.
Joe the Snow. Did everyone see I posted that clip the other day? It's one of my favourite clips of pretty much ever. It's before Mayweather Pacquiao, when Frotch is out there in Vegas and Floyd comes over for his interview and Frotch is talking about himself, and he clearly just assumes that Floyd knows who he is. And he says, you and I, we've had multiple world title fights. And then Floyd says, well, I'm just really pleased that all the fans have come out to support me, and the media in the UK, including. And then he looks at Frotch and sort of pauses, and then goes, including this great champion right here. And it's clear that he doesn't know Frotch's name, and it's so fucking funny because Frotch, you can see Frotch like sort of sniff a little bit, and like he looks like he wants to say something back. He's hilariously thin-skinned. Yeah, I agree with you, Carl. I don't mind him now.
And do you know what? Out of anyone in the world, even fucking Golovkin's mum and dad, he'll be the most pissed off if Kell Brook beats him. He will be fuming.
Yeah, if Brook beats Golovkin and then the rematch is at Wembley in front of 81,000, Froch will be absolutely raging.
Bear in mind, Froch basically went out of the sport, ducking him and saying that he's like a plague, don't go near him, swerve him, blah, blah, blah. And if Kell Brook, a little fucking whiny puff from Sheffield, knocks him out, Jesus.
The video of Cole Froch and Tom Loeffler on IFL is funny as fuck. When he's like, oh, we could do it at 172, but I'm too big, too strong. And then Tom Loeffler was, all right, we do it at 172. And he's like, nah, mate, I'm quite happily retired, actually.
I'm busy, mate, sorry.
I got to get a nose job done, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, dear. No time. I mean, to be fair, in the final year of his career, Froch quite clearly only wanted very particular fights, but up until then, he sort of, he earned his stripes. So we won't slag him too much. So we don't give a shit about Ward Townend, though, do we? Don't give a shit about Callum Smith. So we come on to the main three fights, two of which are pretty good, one of which is a mismatch. Casimero versus Edwards for a legit world championship against a legit world champion in Casimero, who's got one win over Ruan Rong, should have two. I thought he won the first fight. I think that wasn't it a draw, the first fight? But I had Casimero winning it. Obviously knocked him out in the rematch. Rugged fighter. I haven't seen that much of him. Probably only seen about 4 or 5 fights of his. But he's very tough. Can punch with both hands. Really likes to sort of shove his opponent around. Maybe a bit clumsy and a bit of a sort of a bit of kind of a bull in the ring. But I don't know. It's hard to tell with this because Edwards literally hasn't fought anyone as a pro. But obviously he is highly rated and he did have a good amateur career. And logic says Casimero will win and probably knock him out. But you do feel like Edwards' team were very confident taking it. So I think they genuinely do have faith in him winning. Whereas I do think a lot of the Brook fanfare is just matchroom jobs worth idiots, blowing smoke up Brook's arse. But a lot of people do seem to feel very strongly that Edwards will win. Dewey, I know you're quite, bitter towards Edwards after, to save face from when Andrew Selby ducked him at British level. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, and if you have any thoughts on what it would mean for the division and for Selby actually if Edwards was to win and pick up a belt.
Well, one of Edwards' points for not taking the fight was that it's not big enough and they need world titles to make it worthwhile. I'm very sure if he won on Saturday, his first, second, third, fourth or fifth defence would not be against Andrew Selby. Nobody's going to fight Andrew Selby for a little while, but that's, I won't bang on about that. As for the fight, I think it's not interesting how it's going to turn out because we know Edwards is going to move. He can't. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's weak, but he's not going to stand with Casimero just because it's not his style. He's a long-range fighter. Standing with Casimero pretty much halves his chances of winning the fight. He's got to move. It might be a bit of a ball. It'll be interesting to see how the judges score it. I think Casimero will be pressuring. Maybe he won't get to Edwards, but I think he'll do enough to bank the rounds. But, it is a bit of a lottery then, isn't it, when you go to the judges' scorecards? Especially, I imagine that Edwards is going to have quite good support there just because he's British and it'll be a British crowd.
Although Casimero is Heyman. That's the only thing that's kind of it. Because I thought when this was first made, Edwards is going to run and he's going to pray that the judges will rob Casimero, basically. But Casimero he's with Heyman, so you think he might have a bit of clout. And I know flyweight's not really a glamour division in America, but there must have been a reason he was picked up. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Edwards will be very negative, and he'll look a bit like Scott Cardle did against Macedon, obviously on a much higher level. He's a much better fighter than that. And I do think Edwards would have got to world level eventually. I do think he's a good fighter. He's definitely at least European level, and he was a good amateur. But it's very, very. I mean, he's had what? This is his 9th fight, isn't it? He's ranked 78 on BoxRec in the division, and he's never had anyone inside like the top 200. He's never anything 10 rounds either. That's the other thing.
I don't blame him for taking the fight at all. I think, really, if he's not going to fight for the British title, then I don't think there's a massive gap between European title and world level, just because European titles are rarely fought for. So, I think it's a logical fight to take. I can see why they've taken it, but I do wonder what happens when he wins it, because
there's so many good fighters in that division. He's fucked, and he's going to have to defend it against someone decent sooner or later. Like someone like McWilliams Arroyo, who fought Chocolatito last fight, would absolutely smoke Edwards.
He can punch. He really can. Let me look up. Who are the flyweight champions at the moment? I don't have it. Cal, mate, if you're listening, can you do me a favour? Can you look
Gonzalez, Estrada.
Yeah, but isn't Gonzalez just moved up?
He's kept his belt though, hasn't he?
Oh right, okay, he's kept.
I don't think he's vacated.
Cal, are you there, mate? No, he's left.
No, I'm here.
Could you look up the odds for Casemiro points?
Yeah, they've got them up now. I bet Casemiro points.
I bet on Casemiro to win, but I haven't.
Casemiro by decision 4-1.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe that suggests that they really don't think he'll get it if it goes to 12 rounds. I think the problem, Dewey, it's really interesting what you said earlier. I feel like the problem with this type of a fight, where it's so obviously the brawler against the boxer, is that a lot of people assume that if it goes the distance, then it must be because the boxer has imposed his game plan. And do you know what I mean? Whereas that's not necessarily true. Like Casemiro could quite easily win all 12 rounds, but not knock him out. But I feel like people would assume that, if it goes the distance, that's because the boxer's got the better of the brawler, and the brawler wouldn't want to go 12. Whereas Casemiro's been 12 quite a few times. He's won over 12 rounds multiple times at world level.
Go on, Joey.
Go on, mate.
I was just saying about, like, I've been looking at Twitter. I follow like Asian boxing and that Marcus, whatever his face is, who know a lot about these Asian fighters, and they also know a lot about these midgets. And they're all saying like it's the biggest misprice of the year. Like they're just saying there's literally no chance that Edwards can win. So I don't even think
they're all heavily backing Casemiro, are they?
Yeah, massively.
What, knockout or points? Because that 4-1 is really tempting.
I didn't really say it was just like they just can't understand. They can't understand the price. The people I've seen who follow the midgets. I think Alex is the same. He thinks it's a good price for. Yeah, but
Alex is a hardcore helmet though. He doesn't respect the Matchroom stable. The Matchroom.
You can almost hear it pre-fight though, can't you? If Edwards goes the distance, they're going to claim that as a win. Like he could win, he could win like 3 rounds. Yeah. They're going to say, he's gone the distance against a good world champion in his 9th fight. What a future he has. He'll be back. You can almost hear that already. But although I'm on the verge of contradicting myself. I don't blame Edwards for taking the fight, but I do think it's a massively sad reflection of boxing as a sport. There's someone who's only won an English title gets to shortcut, probably about 30 more deserving boxers to get a world title shot. And I know flyweight's shallow, but I do still feel like that.
He's nowhere near the top 50 in the division based on who he's fought so far. Like, the BoxRec point system, I know it's not perfect, but like he's closer to 100 than he is to 50. And, you've got guys like, I think Andrew Selby's around the same as Edwards. To an extent, I can see his point, because I think Edwards versus Selby for the British title is a really good fight, and you wouldn't want to see that buried on an undercard with 1,000 people in attendance and the rest of the stadium empty. And I can see the argument that it could potentially sort of slip by the wayside when it is, and the loser would get written off. And there's no shame in losing to either Edwards or Selby. They're both good fighters. But yeah,
for sure. That argument, though, that it can develop into like a multi-million fight. How many flyweights fight for millions of pounds?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that's Edwards' way of saying like, I might do it as a unification in a few years, but not otherwise. Like, unless Selby becomes his mandatory or something. I got 8-11 on Casemiro to win outright. That was about 2.
The biggest.
Go on, Sam.
The biggest Selby versus Edwards fight could ever would be like chief support on a Femi undercard.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say. Like, I really, 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 I don't like Charlie Edwards anyway. He seems like a knobhead.
He's got a big face as well.
Prince Patel owns his soul. But like, if he wins, it's going to be another fucking small guy who's just going to be on like packing the AJ fucking undercards. Like when I tune into an AJ undercard, which I don't, if I were going to tune into an AJ undercard, I'd want to see like DeGale or fucking someone in a decent. I don't want to see some 8-stone little rat fighting against someone I've never heard of from, and that's just like how it is. That's just how all fans feel. It's a fucking joke, and he's putting these fights on for like 20 grand and then charging people 20 quid for it. Why he's got these little fucking a world title fight. If you were thinking, what can I do for cheap? And it still says world title. Still says this is for a belt. So he got over Casimiro.
I feel like I do think this is an intriguing fight, and it's actually maybe the fight I'm looking forward to the most on the whole card, to be honest, because obviously we've all got strong opinions on the main event, and I think Haskins will win quite easily against Stuart Hall, and it might be quite a boring fight. But Edwards Casimiro is genuinely and it's a fascinating matchup, and I do think Dewey's right that it could be a stinker. It could be really negative with almost no action. Every message I've read has been Edwards emphasizing that Casimiro's slow and he's like crude in the way he attacks. It's not necessarily true. If you look at, Casimiro has all sorts of knockouts on his record. Like, he's knocked out guys with body shots. He's knocked them out with both hands. He's knocked them out with clean punches, combinations, all the rest of it. So he's clearly got many offensive tools. But I do feel like Edwards has said he's slow and he's too small. And Casimiro he was at junior flyweight for a long time. And he actually moved down from flyweight, down to junior, and then back up again. So I feel like Edwards will definitely have the length, because he's quite a tall guy for flyweight, isn't he, Edwards? He's at least a couple of inches taller than Casimiro. And I do feel like this one will be interesting for a few rounds, and then it will really be whether Edwards can whether he starts running or whether he can continue kind of working the jab. And he's quite ambidextrous. He can switch a bit and he can change his stance. And, he might confuse Casimiro for a little bit.
I saw something on just as the fight was announced. I saw something on Twitter where one of Casimiro's team, it might have been his manager, posted that he's just starting camp. And at the time, I think that was 6.5 weeks before Saturday. So not the longest, not the longest notice in the world. And I know he is short, but he's a bit of a lump for a flyweight, isn't he? You
say that, Dewey, but this is the first time in a while that he's had like fights relatively close together. Before this, there was a gap of a year between the two Renderong fights, and there was a year before that, so he may still be in some shape. He's not coming in after a year layoff.
He looked all right to me at the face-offs.
Because Ainsley was saying he struggled with the weight against Ruanrong the second time, but then that was a year off. Yeah,
they both did. Ruanrong came in like 5 pounds over. It was
one of them made it, even if he did struggle. But
Casimiro made it, and Ruanrong didn't. So
that's what I mean. He might have struggled, but at least he made it. And he hasn't had that much of a layoff, so he might not have packed too much poundage on in between.
It is weird that he would struggle with it, because he's. He's been down at light flyweight quite recently.
But a year is a long time.
Yeah, that's true. But it wasn't that long. Oh yeah, it's a funny one. I don't know. I feel like everything suggests that Casimiro should be too strong, way too experienced. He's been fighting at world level for about 5 years. Like, way too experienced at world level, way too experienced over the distance at world level, especially. But I don't know. I've got this nagging feeling that it's not going to go the way I think it will. And I feel like Casimiro points is a really good bet. I originally thought he'd knock him out, but Casimiro, a competitive decision where, like you said, Dewey, Edwards can therefore use that, like Paul Smith did. Well, I went 12 at world level, so that proves that I am world level, etc., etc., etc. And he can make all these demands in the aftermath.
Yeah, flip it on its head, right? Imagine that this foreign lad is the Charlie Edwards, and he's had 8 fights and won 3 by knockout. Bearing in mind he's fighting Binman, and he come and fought against the British champion, who'd just beaten someone that people said were top 2 or 3 in the division, and really awkward. And he's probably beaten him twice, and he's had 24 fights and won 16 by knockout. Everyone would say it's an embarrassment, and he'd be about 1-50. Like, Edwards, like, betting wise, you can't even give him a shot. Like, he's done all right in the amateurs. Fucking hell, he wasn't even the best amateur in Britain at that weight.
Yeah, this is exactly what I said the other day, Cal. I said, like, look, I'm not saying that this is like a dangerous mismatch or anything. I'm just saying that Edwards John Riel Casimero has been top 5 in the division for a number of years, you know, by everyone's standards. Edwards is nowhere near the top 50, so it will be a huge upset if he won. But that's not to say that it's completely out of the question. To quote,
do we think, I don't know Casimero's personality at all, but do we think there's a possibility he's looking at this fight and thinking there's no chance I can lose to an 8-fight novice? And I just wonder, like, if he lost the first 3 rounds, he might not be that, but if he was thinking like that, maybe he won't be that bothered, and he'll either go another 3 rounds till the halfway mark before he gets started. Because, like we say, for an experienced guy at world level who's had a number of world title fights now, he must have been laughing when they said, "Do you want to fight an 8-fight novice who's not really done anything yet?"
I bet for an all right wage for wherever he's from. But you think, I've heard off a few people that there was something dodgy about his weight in the last fight, and Amnats, like, they both just decided to fucking fight above the weight and didn't say anything. And I've heard it off 2 separate people, so maybe wait till after the weigh-in to put an actual bet on.
Yeah, they reported that he'd made the weight. They both made the weight at a second weigh-in, but the second weigh-in was held in a hotel away from the cameras, and like no reporters were allowed in, so it was a bit weird, But then both camps came out and said, "Yeah, they both made weight. It's fine," or like they come to an agreement or whatever it was. And it was a little bit like Barry Jones against what's his face, the Freitas, wasn't it? Where he got on the scales for half a second and then he started celebrating and then he left the room and they just went, "Oh, what's happened?" "Yeah, oh, he made weight. Okay, fine."
I'd just leave it till after, like, weigh-ins, tomorrow at 1 or something like that. Just see him weigh in. I'm not even bothered about how they look, because they all look like skeletons down there. Just if he actually gets through the weigh-in.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to show up fat, is he? But he might be slightly over. Yeah.
They'll have the second day weigh-in as well, won't they? With it being the IBF title.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Is it 10% or £10 or either or?
£10. £10.
All right, £10 down there is massive, isn't it?
Because 10%, say at like
3 divisions.
10% at middleweight would be £16, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I thought that'd make more. It'd make more logical sense, like, for fighters in terms of percentage of their body weight.
Yeah, but I suppose if you're in good shape, going up 10% overnight is going up more than 10%, unless you're fucking Kevin Mitchell when you go to Nando's for 6 hours. Oh, for fuck's sake. And then, do you know, he tried to blame, he tried to blame his team and blame the IBF for that.
He tried to blame England.
Yeah.
Then he went to the England game and he had a fish and chips, like or a kebab and chips. Who the fuck before?
It's the FA's fault.
before the world title eliminator. Yeah. Like, you're thinking, "Oh, what do I need tonight? Oh, it's good for a couple of pints and a kebab, because England are playing in a friendly."
Mental.
Should have gone to watch Wales instead. He would have been fine then.
Carpi?
Yep.
Do you want to do the preview of the Playboy next?
Well, I'm not really looking forward to it, to be fair. It'll be a horrible, boring fight, and Haskins will win pretty easily.
Do you think there's any chance Haskins knocks him out?
Well, he said he will, but he said he'll knock out loads of people and never bothers. Like I was saying to you the other day, the reason he's never on Sky is because they banished him from the Don Broaders fight because of how bad it was. Like, literally, if you ever struggling to sleep, just chuck that on. If you can find it on YouTube, you'll be asleep in no time.
Bristolians are quite dishonest, aren't they? I mean,
we are. As a I was going to say as a race then, but we're not a race. As a peoples, we are very dishonest.
Yeah, you're more of a sort of vermin species, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say like scum of the earth.
Do you think Haskins will have in his mind, this is a massive stage, if I can put on a show and win by knockout and actually go for it, then that could really set me up down the road?
No, I don't really think he cares. As long as he gets paid, he wins. I really don't think he gives a shit about what anyone thinks.
Spent the last 5 years talking about how undervalued he is and how.
But I don't actually think he really gives a shit. I think he's clinging on to the fact that Rousey Warren might beat Jamie McDonnell, and then he'll get their unification with him, because the Sandor guys got a good relationship with Heyman, haven't they?
But surely the unification against McDonnell would be a pretty, a massive fight.
McDonnell doesn't seem up for that fight.
Really? That's strange.
Yeah, I was quite a while ago. I was chatting. I got into an argument with Gavin McDonnell, Jamie McDonnell, and Dave Caldwell on Twitter, and they were saying, "Oh, Gavin's past. No, Jamie's past Lee Haskins level. That's a fight for Gavin. We're not interested in that." So I don't really think Jamie McDonnell wants anything to do with it.
Even when he's got a belt.
Yeah, I don't think they want anything to do with it. Well, Jamie doesn't anyway. He wants bigger fights than Lee Haskins. I don't know whether that could be a big fight. Yeah, I don't know if that could be a big fight if Lee does go out and smash Hall on the weekend. But
let's say McDonnell beats Warren. He'll have 2 belts. Haskins will have another belt. Hearn could surely promote that into a cheap support for a big show.
Yeah,
and that would be big money for them. Like
yeah, but
100 grand each. Like that's huge money for a bantamweight or whatever he is.
But is it going to be money that McDonnell got for fighting Kameda twice?
Yeah, but he'd be fighting on his own show in his promoter's home court.
Well, the problem with Jamie McDonnell and Lee Haskins is no one in Bristol really gives a fuck about boxing. Lee Haskins can't sell out like a 1,000-seater leisure centre, and neither can Jamie McDonnell in Doncaster, can he? So neither of them have got any fans between them. It's
a shame because I feel like Bristol's got quite a good, it's quite a big city. They do like their sport, but no one knows who Lee Haskins is. It's a shame.
He gets on the local news and stuff down here, but then we got 2 shit football teams and a shit rugby team, so we haven't got much sport to shout about.
Does he get on West Match Plus?
That's gone, mate. Long gone.
Are you old enough to remember West Match Plus?
No, of course I ain't.
I genuinely am. Mark Lawrenson used to present it in the 90s.
No, I was only born in 92. So.
Yeah, I used to watch that. I used to record it on VHS and watch it on like a Sunday afternoon. It was quality.
But with this fight, like the actual analysis of it is: has Stuart Hall got any better from the first fight? No. Has Lee Haskins regressed? No. Will you get the same outcome? Probably.
Haskins is about the same, isn't he?
If not maybe a bit better than he was then.
Hall has quite clearly slowed down. And yeah, I would be very surprised if Hall won. I don't know
that Mexican that Hall fought on the Leeds card was trying to quit every time, and he still made that a really competitive fight.
Didn't Hall get a dodgy decision as well recently?
I don't think against the Mexican. It wasn't dodgy, but the cards were wide. They were wide. Hall won it. You can't argue that he lost it, but the scorecards were wide. It was the same scorecards where. What's his face? Josh Warrington got a 10-8 round against
Amagasa.
Yeah, for no one can understand why. It was the same night as that when there was dodgy scorecards everywhere.
Yeah, that was a weird one, wasn't it?
But yeah, like the Mexican, I think it was a generic Mexican name like Ramirez or something, where he was complaining about slipping, tripping, low blows and stuff. So he was trying to quit all the time, and he still made a good go of it. So I think Hall has regressed. And Haskins has stayed the same, so you might get a wider fight than the first time.
I can remember watching Hall when he won the title. I forget who he fought against.
Malinga.
Oh yeah, and he was sort of 100 miles an hour that night. And then I remember him fighting. He fought on a Martin Murray undercard, didn't he? In Monte Carlo against what's his face? Caballero. And I thought Caballero won it, but it was a close, maybe 8-4, 7-5 type of a fight. Caballero won it a bit too wide for me. I thought the cards were a bit too wide, but I was really impressed with Hall because he pushed him all the way. And I rated Caballero at the time. He looks like he's a bit of a wash up now, but I rated him at the time. I was impressed with Hall from that, and then he seemed to kind of disappear for a while. And the last time I saw him, he looked sort of a level slower than he had been before, and a bit it looks to me, and he's old as well, isn't he? For that, isn't he? Like
he's 38, but he's old. I think he's 38, or is he 30, or is he younger than that?
I thought he was about 35.
But he's an old 35, isn't he? Because he's had all his past troubles, like going out and getting messy and that in Ibiza or wherever it was he was working. He had a bar abroad somewhere, didn't he? And he used to get mad with it all the time.
Haskins went out to Tenerife when his missus was pregnant, and there was terrorism and everything. So, Dewey,
that was that face-off, wasn't it?
Dewey, can you fill in the listeners on what he said then? Because it was some of the most insane mind games I've ever heard on like a Sky face-off program.
Yeah, it was definitely the best moment of the build-up to Saturday's show. Maybe he was just playing parody. It was fucking hilarious. Stuart Hall said that when he was on holiday with his family, he bumped into Lee Haskins' wife. And Lee Haskins wasn't with her on the holiday. He was in Magaluf. It turns out, not that it matters towards the story, because it's better without explaining it, but I'll explain it anyway. Haskins was on a stag do for one of his best friends in Magaluf, but Stuart Hall was just making the point that Haskins was away with his mates getting drunk and not with his family on holiday, and he somehow related that to Haskins being a bad family man because he wasn't with his wife when there's terrorism in the world, and Haskins has a gun tattoo, so he's not setting a very good example to potential terrorists in the world. So it makes him a really
He's from Lockleys in Bristol. The chances are he is a terrorist.
Why is it shithole?
Well, he don't fight like one.
It's disgusting, mate. It's kind of like Bristol's mini Sheffield in a way, I would say.
Anyway, do you know, in terms of the actual fights, Haskins only loses if he gets it wrong, I feel. And you could argue, you know, that's how he has lost all his fights. It usually depends on him fighting way too wide open, being a bit reckless and gassing, where I'm unsure that he'll do that on Saturday. It would be a mini upset, I think, if Stuart Hall beat him. And I don't expect it to be competitive, because if you watch their first fight, there was nothing in their first fight. I think I scored it on the night, like 10 rounds to 2. There was nothing in it that suggested that Hall was unlucky or Hall got his tactics slightly wrong or, you know, anything like that. He was just beaten by a better guy.
Hall's one of them guys that if he's in against someone that's like him, he'll be in loads of good fights. But I think Haskins is just going to, which is a better thing for him to do, but he's just going to ruin it and win a boring decision. Like, I think that could be one of the worst fights.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like,
I think it will. It's going to really take a sting out any atmosphere in there if they put it on late.
I could see Hall maybe going in with his head or something. Like, it's going to end like really what's the word? Dissatisfactory.
Like, Dewey, was you there when at the ice arena when Haskins fought Morales?
Yeah.
Like, that's the way Haskins fights. It's just not pretty to watch. He just gets the job done, but you come away from it thinking, I didn't enjoy that at all.
Yeah, you're right. I do often feel like that watching Haskins, but I've got to say, I always watch him and I feel like he could do so much more.
He's
pivot,
got talent in his locker.
Yeah, he can pivot, duck and dive, but sometimes there's no follow-up to it. It's just to get out of the way. It's not like, you know, you see these tricky southpaws who move well from the waist. They pivot, they get under their guy, switch to his sides, and then they counter him from an angle he's not expecting. Lee, when he's hurt people in the past, it's usually because they've overreached. His punching and his movement don't necessarily connect together.
I just think when he knows he's got someone beat, he coasts, and then literally he will just go one pace and wrap the fight up, not trying to stop him, not doing anything more than just winning.
He's only ever been exciting when he's lost.
Yeah, when he gets hurt, because I think he panics a bit and doesn't really know what to do.
I'd be mildly surprised if he lost on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be a competitive fight, and we do have the possibility that Haskins bores us with a clear win over Hall by doing a Lee Haskins, and Charlie Edwards runs from Casemiro all fight, so it could be dead in there until Golovkin beats Brook.
That's why I think they'll save Conor Benn, because obviously they got this the name blah de blah, bang him out there with a decent track, get him in, knock out a journeyman in a couple of rounds with a big shot, show it on
Sweet Caroline, isn't it?
Show it on the screen, everyone's like, ooh, and then
I really hope they don't, Cal, because I think with Conor Benn we've had the novelty debut now where he's blasted some bum out. We've had a little bit of a warning where he struggled with a British journeyman.
I thought he lost the second round.
Yeah, he was
against that Keller, was it?
Keller on the Ricky Burns undercard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But they've had a little warning like that. The last thing he needs now is a big occasion. He just needs to be allowed to learn, how to fight and how to, handle his emotions on fight night.
I know, but if you're thinking like Eddie will be thinking about his card and his product, as he likes to call it, like I can't see either of them fights being good. I'm not giving Charlie Edwards any credit at all. But I think that one's going to be an easy win and maybe a boring one-sided points win. Haskins will be the same. Like, you don't want the crowd going into the main event on that. And, like, I don't want to see fucking Conor Benn at all, but, like, there isn't anyone on the card that can do what Conor Benn can do in that way. There's no name on the card other than Golovkin and Brook.
Yeah. I know what you mean, just like an exciting...
Normally they'd have a Groves against Dublin or something. At least, like, it's a big name. They can get that band fucking playing. Just, like, an actual... Someone that people have heard of, because 90% of people in that crowd, like, probably won't have heard of Casemiro.
No.
Like, probably haven't heard of one of Haskins or Hold, to be honest, until this week. So, like, they're not going to be asked.
Do you know what, though? You do get with, like, the Anthony Joshua sort of group of fans, which I do think this fight kind of caters towards. You do get with those fans that they don't really want an undercard. That's why the promoters are able to get away with not having one.
Yeah, they want to get in there at 9, quite pissed, watch one fight, and then get the main event.
Yeah, they spend most of the night in the bars.
Mm.
Well, Shep, are you still there?
I think he's gone. But to be honest, he's kind of like a catch-22 situation, that, because if I was going to these shows, I'd spend all my time in the bars as well.
Yeah, and we're supposed to be fans.
Yeah,
But then, at the same point, if he put on an undercard we actually wanted to watch, we would watch it.
Yeah, I just can't. I know it has to happen, especially for like debuts but 1 to 100, it's not sport to me. That it's kind of like bullfighting. There's only one winner. Like, what's the point?
These fighters, there's obviously the arguments that they need, sometimes they need to fight lesser opponents because they need to learn how to handle the occasion and everything. But surely that occasion isn't on pay-per-view. That occasion is on, your calls. Or I don't know what's wrong with putting a show on at your call anymore. But Sky are clearly never going anywhere near there unless it's for a Joshua workout.
I was saying that. I don't understand Hearn's obsession with arenas. I really don't get it. Some of the best fights that have been on Sky in sort of the last decade have come from small halls.
I'll tell you what it is obsession is, Carv, is that those fights won't make a fraction of what, say, I don't know, an Echo Arena or a Birmingham Arena. They won't make a fraction of those, of the revenue, and that's ultimately what Eddie cares about, isn't it? Is how much money Matchroom and Sky make, because that's his job.
Yeah, I guess.
When you look at good atmospheric venues for proper boxing fans, Your Call. I quite like the Liverpool Olympia when I've been there. Even the Newport Centre, which holds like 2,000 people, because they're so small, you get a great atmosphere. But they're massively limited in their audience. They could sell 2,000 tickets to Hardcore Helmets, or they could sell 3,000-4,000 tickets to anyone.
When I think of a good atmosphere in like a smaller arena, I think of Frankie Gavin versus Bundu. That was absolutely rocking in that place. And Gavin lost, so everyone went home miserable.
Was that Wolverhampton?
It was a Civic Hall, I think. Press pass will know, wouldn't he?
They were probably miserable anyway.
Yeah, you would be living there.
I think his fans are quite rough.
Yeah, they're all Zulu Warriors, aren't they?
Yeah. Did anyone go? This is a random anecdote. Did anyone go to the first Magnificent Seven show in 2010?
No. Did
you?
Frankie,
there was like Clev fought Karo Murat on that show, and I think he was like 2 fights from the end. And then Frankie Gavin's fans were on Frankie Gavin was on the show, so obviously his fans are there, and it's in Birmingham. And I've seen like the worst boxing riot I've seen in person was that show, because there was about 3 drunk blokes from the valleys gobbing off about 50 Birmingham fans. And as soon as I heard the word, and I was right on like the divide, just minding my own business, sipping my Diet Coke. And I can remember hearing the word Zulu, and then decided to walk away and sit somewhere else, a few empty seats. And about 3 minutes later, there was blood and carnage, and it was World War III.
He'll bet that was more exciting than fucking Frankie Gavin's fight, though.
Yeah, well, it was in the middle of Enzo Macronelli against Frankel, and most people didn't see the first knockdown, but they all heard it, and the trouble kind of died down because Enzo obviously got hurt badly.
Yeah. Well, I hope, to be honest, this weekend it is just another. It is an event, and it's all that bollocks, and you've got to just. He does a good job in what he's catering to. It is a good job, but for people that want good competitive cards with like you utilizing his best fighters and not just the ones that sell best, it's so depressing and demoralizing. And you just each week it kind of more people seem to be joining the amount of people you hear saying things about how he's changed British boxing, like he's revived it, blah blah blah. Like all he's done is make Sky loads of money. Like he charges shitloads for fans. Anything decent we have to pay extra for, and people like lap it up like it's like we're getting some unbelievable gift. Like we've had.
Yeah, I had an eye-opening conversation with a couple of friends this week, and they're not boxing fans. They quite literally they know Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. They know Clev because he's Welsh, and that's probably pretty. I doubt they even know Lee Selby. That's quite possibly it, and they might know James DeGale. But they were asking me who wins, and I was like, "You serious?" And they were, and I had to equate it to the Newport Dragons playing New Zealand in rugby. This is how much of a mismatch it is. But they had not. They were, but their argument, their reply was, "Are you serious? Are you having us on? Put your money where your mouth is." And I said, "I'll have £200 with anyone who thinks Golovkin loses." I didn't have any takers, so I think they understood I was serious then. But people just don't know. They don't understand weight classes. They don't understand that when you guys that these guys wouldn't win British titles. And
so much of it's about
they're all buying the fight. They're all buying the fight, which is what will continue. What will make sure this continues to happen.
But so much of it's like the eye test. It's like I was at some family do, and my uncle from Ireland come over, blah blah blah, chatting about boxing, and he was like, "Oh, that Tyson Fury fight was shit, weren't it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was talking about how much he liked Joshua and how like big he was and how good he looked and how athletic he was. And then I was just like, "Yeah, but he hasn't really beaten anyone. Fury's the man." And he was just like, "Yeah, but surely Joshua would absolutely wipe him out." And I was like, "Well, no, I'd probably pick Fury." And he was like, "What, really?" And because from the eye test, you do watch Fury again. If you don't know anything about boxing, you watch Fury Klitschko and you do think, what is this fat idiot doing? He's just bouncing around on the end of it. He don't get hit with anything, but it's horrible to watch. And all Fury's fights are horrible to watch.
Yeah.
And then AJ just does the 1-2 down the middle. It looks fucking good. All his fucking muscles are bulging. They're on floor. And it's I can understand how it works, but it is hard to...
Go on, Carl.
No, go on.
Interrupted. I've had such a similar experience with the Fury Klitschko fight. I watched it at home, at my parents' home, with my brother and my dad. And I think it was when Fury rocked Vlad with a left hook in the 10th or 11th round. And me and my dad jump up and we're like, "Oh!" And my brother was like, "Oh, what have I missed? What have I missed?" And he didn't, he hadn't even noticed that something had happened because it looked so unattractive. Where a month later, or was it 2 weeks later actually, Anthony Joshua knocked out Dillian White, and my brother was on the phone to me the next morning asking us, had I seen the fight and how good it was. And they're complete casuals. They only know the name, but they will pay to watch, the fighters that look the part.
And that's why I can guarantee tomorrow, Kell Brook's going to look in absolutely fantastic shape. I've got no doubt about that. He'll look like a bodybuilder, and more and more people will be saying he's got a chance though. He's not smaller than him. Have you seen the size of his arms? Blah blah blah. I'll get it from my mates tomorrow night when we're having a pint. Yeah, but surely he's got a chance. You're just trolling, aren't you? When you bang on about it being the biggest mismatch ever. I'll be like, no, he's got no chance. They'll be like, well, 5-1, it's worth a tenner, and I'll be like, I'll offer you fucking 5-1. Give me the tenner.
I think there's two kind of sort of psychological reactions at play, I think, with events like this, especially in the UK, where we tend to be really like juvenile about it, and about how if you don't back our boys, then you're a twat, and you're not a real fan. Like, you have to back the English boys, and like that's like really childish, and sort of, it's like a schoolyard mentality. And there's a bit of that creeps in, and Hearn is really good at playing up to that, isn't he? Like saying like, Kell Brook's going to need all your support. And it's like, all right, well, tell him to give me some of the money that he's earning then.
Yeah, Kell Brook can't win unless each of you spends 20 quid on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
No,
Brook really needs you to buy this pay-per-view and give Metrum Sport and me another Bentley. And it's like,
he would trying to. That's one of the things he lied about when he was talking about the pod account, going at him, like saying shit to him, and like he basically used that to try and like
say the pod account like it's all of us. Fuck's sake.
All right, me trying. But he says, yeah, spread the hate.
Yeah.
But he was like, and he's been saying like Kell Brook's going to get really badly hurt, and he wants him to. And I just looked back through my tweets, and I hadn't added Kell Brook in any.
It wasn't you. You know that Colsey Slice fella on Twitter who was having a go at, who always has a go at Tommy Allen, and
that gym lover.
Yeah, it was him. It made me laugh when I seen it. He said, "This time next week, Kell Brook's going to be rushed to hospital with paramedics beside him or something." And then Hearn tweeted him back saying, "Scumbag."
That is bad.
That Colsey Slice is quite funny. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, he goes after fucking casual Tommy.
Yeah, he don't give a shit.
It's a really weird double standard that people seem to overlook, which is that, yeah, it's not very nice to like be cheering about someone getting seriously hurt. But Hearn's the one who has arranged for all of this to happen and is profiting from it. So, like, the blood on the hands, if Brook does get hurt badly, or if his career is effectively ended on Saturday, which is a possibility, like it could happen.
It can happen. It can happen to any fighter when they go in the ring.
Absolutely. But the risk is massively increased for this fight, like it was against Khan. Like, I'm amazed that Khan was completely fine after that knockout. Like, for a few seconds, we all said, didn't we? We were like, that was really uncomfortable to watch.
But I think in the same way, I don't know if we've discussed this before, but just take the one shot, bang, you're out, is a lot better than, because that was pretty much the first good shot he took, maybe one or two before.
It was the first clean punch, wasn't it?
He didn't take any punishment in that fight, whereas I think Golovkin will fucking make him hurt a bit more than that. I think he'll be hit.
Golovkin will beat him up rather.
We'll get into that later on. Anyway.
All right, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't know if we were actually on the fight properly yet, but I just wanted to say that like there's this really weird kind of disconnect in the minds of the casual fans, where they're happy to turn on guys who criticize the British fighter or guys who are critical of the matchup. So if you say like this is a really irresponsible fight, it's a cash grab, this is really risky for Brook's health. You'll be called either you're not backing our boys, or Hearn will get the rabble roused and accuse you of wanting Brook to get injured. And it's like, well, mate, surely the guy who wants him to risk his health is you. You're the one who's like stitched this fight together at the last minute because you were so desperate to have a fucking pay-per-view in the summer that you put literally anyone in with Golovkin. And like the blood is going to be on Hearn's hands. It's not going to be on some guy who's tweeting inappropriate jokes from his computer. Like, that guy might be a twat, but he's not the reason Kell Brook has got brain damage. Like, that's Hearn's fault. And I really think people need to be made aware of how much of a risk Hearn is taking with someone else's health here. And
that's why I was saying this something to her earlier, and like they said, yeah, but Khan was just as bad, and I was like, well, you can't make your decision off like one of the worst things that's happened in the last 3 years. It was obviously when level that we're going from, and then also people forget Michael Katsidis being brought over for fucking Tommy Coyle when he literally been like diagnosed with a brain bleed. Like
James Toney in that prize fighter thing as well.
James Toney who couldn't speak. He can't even string a sentence together. But Hearn says,
and guys, Cal, unless we forget, Hearn getting on his fucking grandstanding, moralistic soapbox, standing up after the Khan fight and saying, that was dangerous to Amir's health. I think his advisors have been really irresponsible, you know, and then immediately making
week later
fight against a much more dangerous middleweight. It's ridiculous. The double standard,
and at the full weight as well.
I don't know how exactly at the full weight against a bigger puncher who's much better. Like, I don't know how he gets away with it. It's a bit like, I don't know. I feel like it's almost this kind of Soviet sort of mental warfare where there's just so much bullshit constantly. People get so disorientated. They can't stop and actually think about what's being said to them. Like, what was it yesterday that Matt Bowes said to Coogan, do you think Brook can win? And he just said, yes. Like, Coogan never predicts results for fights, you know, normally with English fighters. He will say really ambiguous things like, I'll be cheering for him, or like, I hope he can pull it off. But for this one, he's saying, yeah, Brook will win. It's insane. Like, and this,
it's pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Sorry, he does so much of Eddie's fucking work for him. Like, he's the biggest cheerleader. I fucking can't stand him. Like, his videos, yeah, well done, you're giving us content, but there'd be about 50 other people that do the exact same job if you fucked off. So I don't care about that. And at the end of the day, they ask the same fucking question, easy questions. They never push anyone unless, like, they've somehow got some beef with them. They think they're doing the fighters a favour. Like, you know, like smaller hall stuff, they've kind of stopped going to, like, this really small hall stuff. Like they were saying to Prince Patel, oh, like, you need us, and he had some standoff with, like, Romeo. Like, I know these are little shits, but, like, who the fuck are they? Like, and they get on the high horse. As soon as there's a pay-per-view fight, we've got to see 1 minute of fucking ads before we actually get to see a 2-minute clip of the weigh-in.
45 seconds it is now, this week, of adverts.
45 seconds of ads, and then for them to, like, snigger behind the fucking camera while asking questions that... There's been 7 interviews with Eddie Hearn this week, and we haven't even got to fucking weigh-in day.
Yeah, I think there's my real issue with IFL at the moment is that, and I understand, we had Coogan on the show, and I was sort of, and I can understand that his position, he's not an investigative journalist, like, he's not trying to uncover scandals, so I can understand that, like, he feels kind of torn between putting them in awkward situations and asking really difficult questions, or just giving them a platform from which to say whatever they want. And I appreciate that, you know, someone like Billy Joe is really saying whatever he wants, and that's fine. Like, Coogan is not, like, feeding him lines, you know. But you just think with Hearn, like, he just manipulates every single interview, and it's very, very frustrating when he will give a non-answer to a question that the fans have been asking for weeks. He'll give a non-answer to it, and it's just, Coogan just lets it sit there, and he'll never follow up on it. If Hearn's answer doesn't make sense, he'll never pressure him, and he'll just say, like, fair enough, and then move on. That's my issue with it, is that occasionally it will be really, really obvious that a fighter or a promoter is just outright lying, and he will never push them on it. Whereas I think on other channels, they will, if they don't push them on it, they will at least make fun of it. I've seen boxing podcasts in the States, like the HBO pod and stuff, where if a fighter or a promoter obviously says something that's bullshit, like Oscar De La Hoya or Bernard Hopkins or whoever, if they say something that's just nonsense, the promoters will kind of make fun of it and sort of emphasize that, you know, without saying it directly, they will sort of make a point to say, like, you know, we all know that your answer is nonsense and you're lying. Like, whereas, yeah, the IFL lads just let it sit there.
The Radio Raheem fella that does seconds out videos is quite good. There was a video with him not so long back. I think it was at the Carl Frampton Leo Santa Cruz fight, and he was interviewing Abel Sanchez about Golovkin Brook, and he pushed him on why Golovkin was fighting a welterweight, and Sanchez kept saying, well, no middleweight wants to fight him, and he was like, well, have you offered him the fight? No. Have you offered him the fight? And Sanchez was like, no. And he went, well, there's middleweights out there, why aren't you offering fights? And he was just like, oh, well, they don't want to fight him anyway. And Radio Raheem was like, but that's not the right attitude. So some of them do.
They were good. There's actually a decent English guy. You can't see him, but he sounds like a black fella from London. But he said he like asked Eddie Hearn about Brazil fight, and he was like, so is this just like an easy like warm up for him, for, like, first defense, blah blah blah? And Eddie like looked quite shocked that he'd asked him that, and he was like, no, this is a really tough fight. And the guy was like, well, it's the easiest out of who you could have picked. And Eddie was like, no, he's like an Olympian, blah blah blah. You were trying to, and the guy was just like, I know he's an Olympian, but he lost to Fred Cassidy and he drew to someone else, and he was like, Eddie just looked shocked and were like, finished the interview fast as anything. So I kind of understand why they don't ask him questions, because they just won't come and answer them anymore.
I think it's a bad situation when a promoter looks genuinely shocked when their bullshit is called out. Like, Bob Arum might get, if you call Bob Arum's bluff, he might get annoyed with you, but I don't think he'd be surprised that anyone dared question him. Whereas, like, Hearn genuinely seems shocked. Like, I can't believe he's just asked me that. Like, he hasn't just accepted my nonsense answer.
Did you not see Bob in the build-up to the Lomachenko fight the other month when he was blaming the media for everything?
Yeah, he was raging. It was amazing.
All week he wasn't doing any media interviews because apparently they'd stopped him fighting Walters, didn't they? Because I don't know why or how, but he was blaming the media for the Walters fight not happening.
Like a month ago, he opened that Twitter account and he said he wasn't going to talk to the media ever again, and he was only going to do business through Twitter. It lasted like a week, and then he was back on the interview. Can I just say, I've got a little example before we get into the preview properly of a perfect example of the matchroom mentality, which is that I made a point a couple of days ago. A few people have said it actually this week, that we haven't heard very much from past Golovkin opponents. We've heard the absolute bare minimum, considering half of them are employed by Sky. Whereas you've had Johnny Nelson doing 10 interviews a day explaining how he thinks Brook, all the different ways Brook can win. Despite Johnny Nelson not having never fought at middleweight, never fought Golovkin, he's got no connection to either of the fighters really, apart from the fact that he's mates with Brook. Whereas you've got the likes of Martin Murray, Matthew Macklin, etc., who fought Golovkin and who are middleweights. So you think they would be able to actually offer some real insight into selling Golovkin as this killer, but rather, Hearn's obviously gone for the conquering hero line rather than the come and see the most devastating puncher in the world destroy another sort of B-level contender. But Martin Murray tweeted earlier, I've never heard so much shite in my life from certain people to try and make us believe that the GGG versus Brook fight is even, for fuck's sake. That got quite a few positive replies, because I think a lot of people are sick of the smoke and mirrors this week. But he genuinely had dozens of guys who were presumably fans of his, who support Matchroom, having a go at him and saying, why are you being... So the first reply was, why are you talking shit? Golovkin embarrassed you. The second guy was saying, do you want to bet? Are you saying you'll be shocked if it's competitive? Disrespectful to Brook. You've got others saying, and one guy said, we know it's not even, but he has a better chance than you did. So immediately everyone is attacking Murray for going against and it's this fucking cult hive mind mentality, isn't it? It's insane. I also thought that, that Scott Gregory guy who looks like a little troll with the glasses. He replied saying, have a word with Nelson. The guy appears to have developed AIDS of the mouth. And Murray just replied with a load of laughing emoticons. So I think even Murray must be thinking, fucking hell, this is getting... And the thing is, it makes Murray look like a twat, because he obviously lost every round to... Well, actually, he maybe won 1 or 2 rounds, but he lost, he got a beating from Golovkin. And you've got these idiots who haven't watched a fight, who've probably not watched that fight, who are saying that Golovkin's never been tested, he's never fought a true sort of world-level fighter. And you must have, half the Matchroom stable thinking, Ed Hearn is really encouraging this kind of unbelievably disrespectful, clueless narrative amongst the fans.
It's lying. I think I'd go further. It's just plain lying. These people cannot think that, because they watch a lot of boxing and they've seen. There's no way. Maybe Johnny Nelson, because he does appear quite thick, but there's no way someone like Glenn McCrory, who used to have a fucking brain of his own, and now since he's been attacking people,
he's on thin ice though, Cal, and he got done for drink driving again, so he's got to be a company man.
McCrory, are you talking about?
Yeah.
McCrory was McCrory's wound his neck right in. Honestly, he was asked on Sunday, do you believe Kell Brook will win? And he just replied, yes.
No, you know why that is, didn't you? It's because he's got done for drink driving again and noshing off prostitutes.
Probably Hamlet, right?
So he's got to be a company man again, because he's on thin ice, because he keeps getting done for
his driving ban, like press pass.
These ex-fighters, and do you know what pisses me off the most? When they say Kell Brook will probably win the first 3 or 4 rounds, but then I think the size and the strength of Golovkin will get him and he'll stop him in round 10 or 11. If Golovkin stops him in round 10 or 11, he will have won 10 of the rounds minimum.
Yeah.
There's no way on earth that Kell Brook wins.
Kell Brook is not going to come from behind to win this fight. That is not going to happen.
I wish this is the time where I wish I'd made something in my life and had some fucking money, because this is where you turn 5 million into 6 million. Like the easiest money.
It's printing money, isn't it? I'm going to.
Lads, this is the same. We're talking about the same people who said that, until this fight was made, who said that Martin Murray pushed Golovkin like nobody else.
Yep. And do it. It's amazing if you actually look at the replies to the tweet, like the immediate flip against Murray, where it's people saying, Murray, you were never even world level. Why are you being disrespectful? Some guy tweeted him, what's it got to do with you? And Murray was like, well, I did fight Golovkin, and I am a professional boxer. It's kind of relevant. And then everyone.
They don't know who he is, though. That's the problem.
But one guy said, why are you having a go at Eddie? Like, he's done well for you. And Murray was like, I'm not having a go at Eddie. I'm having a go at anyone, like lying and trying to sort of con the public. And it's this. These guys are sticking up for Hearn in this situation rather than the fighter. It's insane. They are supporting the promoter over the fighter. It's absurd.
The only good thing is, like, obviously, like the boxing Twitter that we follow is like the ones that watch all the shite and bloody.
It's our hive mind, isn't it?
Yeah, but like even the ones that used to all like stick up for Eddie and like saw the greater good or whatever bullshit, like they've all turned on him. So everyone I follow, pretty much, is absolutely laying into him. There's like 2 people that are still like trying to sit on the fence and say he's got a chance. And that's good to see. Like, but it'll just mean that he cares even less and less about people that actually like boxing. Because if none of them like go along with his shite, then there's no point of us.
He probably doesn't give a shit if they all buy the pay-per-view. If the pay-per-view does 500,000 buys, and then none of these cunts tune in for another fight until November when Joshua's around, that's probably fine with Hearn, isn't it? I mean, that probably still brings him profit. Like,
what's more valuable to him, like 100 hardcores, or however many casuals are going to get to buy this fight?
No, you're right.
No, but yeah, that's what I'm saying to it. Obviously, he wants to reach the mass market with fights like this, where he's probably the outlay on purses is probably 5 million quid, right? Just purses alone. And obviously, he wants to reach the biggest audience possible when Brook isn't a household name. So he's got to really go into overdrive with it. And I do think there's an element of that. Whereas if this was Joshua, say, fighting Klitschko, let's just pull a name out of the air, Hearn would not be saying Klitschko is the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. He's the biggest puncher ever in boxing. Like AJ is going to be, Whereas if AJ, if his wasn't a household name, he has to crank it up to the next level. So you get this nonsense about Brook being a devastating puncher at middleweight, and Brook being at 160, meaning he has all the advantages of being at 147 minus the dehydration. It's literally what he said. It just doesn't even make sense. Like
the complete like disdain, disrespect he shows to real fans with how like thick he thinks everyone is.
Yeah. With
like how he speaks and stuff. It just makes me angry. I don't watch this shit anymore. I watched that clip you sent me and that were enough. Like it's just so much, and it's just turning me like he's the guy that gives in Britain most of the fights that we see, like that aren't at 4 a.m. It's fucking depressing.
Well, it's not great, but that is his job. They should, but I think what we're more disillusioned with is that there's nobody really questioning anything.
Mm. And the occasional guy is saying, in Murray's replies, the occasional guy is saying, sadly, I think I agree, two weight classes is too much for Brook. But then they'll always end the tweets with, like, but you should still support him. As if Murray doesn't want him to win. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's probably mates with him. Like, it's quite clear that he wants him to win. He just doesn't. He's capable of giving an honest assessment of the fight. And Macklin was the same. Macklin's article today was fantastic because he basically said what we've been saying all week. He went, look, saying Brook has no chance is stupid because he could easily, Golovkin could get cut, Golovkin could get an injury, Brook could break his nose with this, and he could struggle to breathe, whatever it is. There's chances he's going to win, but Macklin basically said that's his only real chance is to get very, very lucky with kind of a freak punch. And he said if Brook gets to round 6, then he will be able to walk out of the arena with his head held high, knowing that he performed incredibly well. And I think that's completely true. I think the only way Brook loses credit from this fight is if he quits in the first couple of rounds or something. But if he gets to the mid rounds, I would say, well done. You tried your best.
People are making too much issue with the weight for me as well. If Brook was a fully fledged middleweight, and he has been all his career, and he's the same skill level he is now, he's still not good enough to win. I would still give him no fucking chance. And he's a welterweight coming up. He has literally got no chance.
Let's discuss the tactics for it for a minute, because I think a really interesting point that's been made is that people compare this to Khan Canelo, and while there are similarities, obviously, in terms of the size of the two guys fighting, everyone agreed that there was, even if you were picking Canelo, which 99% of us were, by knockout, there was a way Khan could win the fight. There was a clear route to victory. Yeah. Whereas, do we think there is any route to victory for Brook, being completely honest about it? Beyond a sort of a miracle punch where Golovkin's eye swells up or something crazy like that?
No.
Do you know in the Willie? I think Brook is better than Willie Monroe Jr., but I don't think he'll be bigger. But in that fight, I think they were quite generous with the size of the ring to Monroe, because they wanted it to go rounds and they didn't want it to go early. And even with a massive ring, Golovkin was able to cut him down. And I think he'll be able to close Kell Brook down, just as easy. But Monroe had to adapt then, and he stood with Golovkin for a couple of rounds, and he probably lost every single one of those rounds, but there was enough success for it to continue. I can't see Kell Brook standing with Golovkin and toughen it out for a couple of rounds before getting stopped. I think he has to move, but if he moves, he's just going to have no momentum to stop Golovkin in his tracks.
He's not that good. I can't see. People are talking like he's fucking Pernell Whitaker. Do you know what I mean? He can pivot and dodge everything. That's not what he does. It's not how he fights. I agree completely. Sorry, go on. Interrupted you.
And think of a fight where someone has been big enough and strong enough to pressure Kell Brook constantly. It'd have to be the Porter fight, wasn't it? But Porter is so blatant in his pressure.
Maybe Carson Jones' first time, he pressured him quite a bit, didn't he? Maybe.
Yeah. But Porter and Carson Jones as well, they're so blatant with their pressure that they're always off balance when they run forward. So after that first phase, you can grab hold of them. But Golovkin, you can grab hold of them, get the ref in, and they'll reset. But Golovkin doesn't overreach.
No.
Golovkin is not going to he's not going to fall in to give Kell Brook the chance to grab hold of him, walk him to the ropes, or walk him to centre ring, or whatever, until the ref breaks him up. Golovkin is that horrible pressure where he'll shadow you, and you feel like you can't lose him.
Well, Macklin said the same thing, didn't he? He said, I was worried about the punches going in, but it's the mental pressure he puts on you constantly for 3 minutes of every round. That's what gets you, and it breaks you down, and it means all you're thinking about is defense. And you can't even begin to think about sort of throwing a combination or actually countering him or timing him or anything like that. And I think you make a really good point. A guy earlier said to me, Golovkin, Brook will be able to smother and spoil Golovkin and make it very awkward. And I said, what's your evidence for that? And he said, the Porter fight. And I said, but are you saying Porter and Golovkin are sort of similar styles? And he went, Brook was able to nullify Porter, a very good offensive fighter. And I said, Porter is arguably the worst fighter in the sport at the top level for smothering his own work and falling in. Golovkin is arguably the best fighter in the world at maintaining distance.
Golovkin, in all the attributes that matter, in all the divisions, Golovkin's probably top 3 in every single attribute. He's top 3 in footwork, he's got the top 3 in power, he's top 3 in shot variety.
The only thing we don't know is his chin, I suppose.
Yeah, but even that, there's questions. He took shots from Curtis Stevens, fair enough.
Yeah, he's took shots from. He's never taken a flush sort of right hook from a huge punch.
If he would have took a flush shot from Lemieux and not budged, then perhaps we could say he's got a cracking chin as well.
Yeah.
But we don't know that. But everything else, you go up and down. Shot variety, yes. Balance, yes. Footwork, yes. Jab, yes.
The fact is, Lemieux didn't even mark his face at all. And
he's one of the most complete fighters in the sport. Kell Brook isn't the most complete welterweight in the world. He's got no fucking chance, and anyone saying he is does not know what they're watching.
The whole point
is as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. There is. When I ask what route to victory for Brook is to anyone who's To anyone who's daring to predict that Brook's got a good chance or Brook will be competitive or whatever, the root of it, they always give me a completely different answer, which I think is a very, very bad sign. You know, some of them will say it's his jab. Some of them will say his hand speed. Some of them will say that he'll be able to tie Golovkin up and smother him and frustrate him. Some of them will say that he'll be able to outbox him somehow. But you just think these guys either haven't really watched Golovkin before, which is possible, or they're just in complete denial, and they bought into Hearn's bullshit.
The funniest one, Shep, is when they say he's going to win on points. On what planet? If he can even get to points,
I think he's going to get 7 rounds.
Is he going? Yeah, if he can make it to points, on what planet is he going to win more than half the rounds? It's not going to happen.
Well, he could just win 3 rounds and knock Golovkin down 8 times to win on points.
It could be like could be like Quillin against Endarm, couldn't it?
Go on, Cal.
I've got a good one. Right, this is from Martin Murray about that tweet you read out. Someone's tweeted, I think you've forgotten that Brook survived that onslaught from Carson Jones. Golovkin's power will be nothing in comparison.
But we had...
Now, though, you don't know if these people are like... You literally don't know if they're serious or not.
I think that one was a joke. I assumed it was when I saw it. But there's a really good anecdote that I was told by... it was actually Donny on the asylum, wasn't it? He was saying that Carson Jones has sparred Golovkin many times, and he says like they have to make him basically wear pillows on his hands, because otherwise he's damaging guys too much, and they can't. You know, they have to drop out of camp for a few weeks. And
they all wear rib protectors, don't they?
Sorry, go on.
They wear Golovkin sparring partners wear rib protectors, like not like your standard, protector to cover your balls. They wear rib protectors that go just under the chest.
Yeah, and these are light heavyweights wearing rib protectors. They're not welter. Golovkin does not spar.
Brook wore one, and he's a super middle.
Yeah, he's what was the one? And it's been widely established now. Kovalev, John David Jackson admitted it this week that Golovkin dropped him with a body shot in sparring about 3 years ago, and that's Kovalev, who whilst he's been hurt to the body before, and he's been knocked down in fights. Kovalev is an elite, a big elite light heavyweight, and Golovkin was knocking him around the ring. He was chinning Lucien Boutte multiple times in the amateurs, just chinning him with single punches. Kell Brook, even if Kell Brook was a fully sized middleweight, you'd still pick Golovkin every day of the week, wouldn't you? Like, just based on the skill set.
One reason...
There's no fighter from 154 to 168 you'd pick to beat Golovkin. There's no one.
Ward at 168, maybe.
But he's not at 168 anymore, is he, Sue?
Well, I don't know if
anyone currently we're in between 154 and 168, you would not pick.
The Gale would.
Even in a 70-30, you wouldn't pick.
The Gale would school him.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why you like the Gale. I can't get my head around that.
I love him. He's amazing. I would be proper Matchroom fanboy if that fight was ever made. But the Gale's not stupid, so he'd never take that fight ever. There's no way he'd ever take that fight.
That's it. Brook has no chance, and anyone saying he does is an absolute idiot. It's doing my head in this week. Like, I'm trying not to watch anything or listen to anything or read anything, because a bit of me doesn't want to go, but I know if I don't go, I'll regret it. But at the same time,
I'm excited to watch it because I'm excited to watch Golovkin fight in the UK. I think
at the same time, though, I'm sick of Golovkin fanboys now as well. I can't deal with them anymore. Like that wee Sam fella. Just look at his Twitter account, and you just want to kill yourself when you read it.
Wee Sam? Is he Scottish?
He's from the East Coast, I think, in the States. He's some Muslim guy he's an insane Golovkin fan.
Yeah, like he was on about Brook's bone density.
A jihadist or just moderate?
He had a go at me when I made a comment about Mohammed once. He's quite extreme.
Yeah, but he was on about like Brook's bone density and stuff. Like, how the fuck would you know that? And he's like, oh yeah, it's a really competitive fight. Brook's got really dense bones. It's like, are you for real, mate?
But again, he's got his agenda is to make it sound competitive. So when Golovkin ices him in 3 rounds, he can praise Golovkin even more.
This is the thing. You've got the Golovkin fan saying that, oh, it's a good fight. Brook is a good middleweight. He's massive. And then you've got the matchroom casuals who are like, oh, Brook's going to win. Golovkin's shit. Then you've got like people us in the middle who just call it as it is. Like, Brook can't win. Simple as that. And it's not a good fight.
I tweeted earlier about Hearn when he was promoting Proxer, and the quote was that Hearn had fancied Proxer to cause the upset against Golovkin, and I said, yeah, fool us once, Eddie. And then I had a few comments from Americans saying, genuinely, I would give Proxer a better shot at beating Golovkin now than Brook, and it's a guy he's already iced in 5 rounds. It's just ridiculous that. Yeah, I think I'm going to quote Paul Webb here, formerly of this parish, before we fired him earlier in the show. Paul said that just because Brook makes 147 badly, that doesn't mean he's a middleweight. Like, you know, there's a big difference between if he'd been a middleweight for his entire career, like Hearn is trying to imply. Why hasn't he been fighting at fucking middleweight? Why wasn't he champing at the bit to fight Cotto when Cotto had the middleweight title? Do you know what I mean? Like, surely, if he's so massive, he could have dwarfed. Cotto's a tiny middleweight. Could have dwarfed him. Could have smashed him. Could have won the middleweight title. I think it says a lot that people are clinging to things like the size of his biceps, his speed, which is non-existent.
Yeah, this is another thing I wanted to say, Shep. When you watch Brook, like when you watch Khan, the one thing you take away from is you go, fucking hell, he's quick. But when you watch Brook, you don't come away going, he's got really fast hands. There's nothing when you look at Brook, when you watch his fights, there's nothing you look at and think he does that really well.
Brook has very good timing, I'd say, and Brook is a really good welterweight. He's really, really good.
He's a very good fighter. Don't get me wrong, but you don't look at it. And you don't look at any of his attributes and go, he's one of the best at doing that currently.
He's not a Pacquiao where you look at him at 135 knocking guys out and you think that guy could knock out light middleweights. Like, he is that good, that fast, that powerful. You know, it's not like Floyd where you say, yeah, Floyd is such a good boxer. He could probably school guys twice his size. With Brook, you say Brook is very, very good against guys his own size. And that's completely fine. That's all that a boxer has to be. That's completely reasonable to just be good against guys your own size. But the idea that he can jump... If Brook was jumping 2 weight classes up to Canelo, I would favour Canelo, but I would say Brook is a live underdog. The idea that he could fight against a guy who is twice the fighter Canelo is, and I don't even think that's competitive as a fight, Golovkin against Canelo. I think Golovkin would knock him out with relative ease. And the idea that he could leap 2 weight classes, 13 pounds, having never fought at the weight before, and get in there with the, you know, as Hearn says, the best pound for pound in the world, and it's just mental, and it's astonishing that they have managed to sell it to the extent they have. And you have to say, you know, take your hat off to Sky and Hearn and Coogan for being a fucking acolyte in all of this. But yeah,
Tom.
Does can I get predictions then? Like, give me rounds, because I imagine we're all going KO. But give me the rounds you think. Cal, how long do you think it will go?
I bet on under 6.5, but that's me being generous. I think it'll be. I think he'll probably stop him in 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. That's fair. Dewey, what's your pick?
I think it'll be 120 points to 44.
Brook.
You've gone for a Spencer Fearon scorecard.
No, I think I've bet on 1 to 6, which was evens when the fight started. I think it still is evens. I think 18 minutes of pure Golovkin is a very long time for Cal Brook. I think he'll be up to the body before the head. Just touching on Cal Brook's speed there. I don't think he's slow, but he's just not a combination puncher, which is, you tend to notice speed more with combination punches, where Brook is more, I wouldn't say a pot shotter, but you rarely see him throw more than like 2 or 3 punches at a time.
Yeah.
I
think he relies
on
Golovkin and speed, doesn't he? I think, yeah.
Yeah, that'll suit Golovkin as well, because he'll be, I think, as good as Cal Brook is at timing his opponents, I think Golovkin will be able to match him. Because Cal Brook doesn't fight sort of like in between, does he? Like,
he goes back in straight lines as well.
He's always gone back in straight lines.
With his hands low and his chin up in the air.
Yeah, and his feet are nowhere near as quick as someone like...
No.
I'm not saying Khan has great footwork, but he has very fast feet in terms of moving around.
Cal Brook's legs are fucking massive.
Yeah.
When you think of a classical Ingle fighter, you think of someone with really slick footwork, don't you? And Brook doesn't. He hasn't really got slick footwork. He doesn't move around the ring. He's not flat-footed, but he's not fleet-footed either, is he?
Brook's a really good kind of 8 out of 10 in every department fighter. Do you know what I mean? There's no obvious weakness, but 8 out of 10 isn't good enough to beat Golovkin when he's 2 weight classes bigger than you. Like, you have to. Yeah, sorry, go on, Cal.
Do you know, boys? You know this one thing about the Ingle style is going to beat, can cause Golovkin problems. I don't think Cal Brook has an Ingle style. I think he does. He's quite fundamental for an Ingle fighter. You rarely see Cal Brook. I know he switched against Frankie Gavin, but I think he was just taking liberties then because the fight was so easy for him. But you rarely see Cal Brook switch things up or sway as much as, like, you know, your obvious. Even Johnny Nelson, you know, he's not as unorthodox as them. Cal Brook is quite a fundamental fighter.
Yeah, he's not,
but he's quite conventional, isn't he?
Yeah, he is quite conventional, and he stands up quite straight. But he doesn't do anything unbelievably well. But then again, he doesn't do anything really badly, and I think that makes you a very good fighter if you can do that. And also, he is big and very strong at welter. He's not going to be big or very strong at middle. And
I think it's a complete. Do you know when you put on this weight, it is, to me, it looks all water. I think that will really slow him down. To the most, well, look, I know it's a different sport, but look at Conor McGregor. It's artificial weight. I think if you get lower, safely, I think it's only a good thing. And Cal Brook, when he fights at welterweight, has like 15 weeks, 12 weeks notice. That's enough time for him to get his body weight down. It might be touch and go, but he's still been doing it for the last 36 fights.
Obviously, we haven't seen the weigh-in yet, and we don't know exactly what he's going to come in at. I agree with Cal. I have no doubt he looks like he's in good shape on the scales. But do we think he's going to come in pretty near the limit of 160?
Yeah, I think he'll be bang on because he'll want to make the point that he is a natural middleweight. If he comes in, like when Pacquiao fought Margarito, I think that was a light middleweight title fight, and he came in at like 144.
Yeah, Margarito.
What do you think of the new?
Wasn't he? Yeah, he had.
But Pacquiao didn't need to make the point that he's a natural light middleweight to win the fight. Where Cal Brook seems to be quite determined to make the point that he is a natural middleweight.
How can you work hard to pack 14 pound of extra muscle on to claim you're a natural middleweight? Natural means like this is what you'd be if you didn't do anything.
Natural middleweight is being 165 pound 4 weeks out.
Yeah, it's not what you can fucking, as much as you can eat protein and fucking get to the gym and take your steroids and get as muscly as possible.
That's not what
Golovkin is a natural middleweight. He's a guy who probably walks around at 175, goes on a few runs, and then finds that he's pretty much on 160. Carl Froch was a natural super middleweight. He never really had to struggle. He never got more than sort of 20 pounds above the weight between fights. Brook is this yo-yo idiot who has no discipline outside the ring, and he's now trying to claim that he's it's because I've been killing myself to make 147, which I've successfully made for 12 years. Like it's nonsense. It's like Tim Bradley. Do you remember when Tim Bradley versus Golovkin was rumored very briefly last year? And Bradley, it was all because in an interview Bradley said, "Yeah, I'd fight him." Like it was when Bradley was looking for an opponent, and like they couldn't get the. I think he wanted to fight a unification or something, but it wasn't happening, and he fought Jesse Vargas, and then after that, he was getting frustrated about not being able to get another big name. And they said, someone said, "What about Golovkin?" It's a joke, and Bradley just went, "Yeah, I'd fight him," and everyone went, "Well, actually, we probably believe Bradley. Please don't offer them to the fight because he is probably crazy enough to take it." But it was just a joke. Like in America, everyone, even at HBO, were like, "Yeah, we don't want to see that. Tim Bradley's not a middleweight. It doesn't matter how good he is at welter. He's not a middleweight. It's that simple." And I'm really, really glad that they didn't. And the funny thing is, Hearn and all these fanboys would shit on the Bradley Golovkin fight, wouldn't they? They would be saying, "Why is Bradley ducking Brook? Why is Golovkin ducking Eubank Jr.? All of this nonsense," because it would suit their agenda. But when the cards fall the other way, they are willing to make any excuse they want. Sorry, Carpy, I think you wanted to jump in.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Something about Lee Haskins?
No, I don't think I was going to mention the Playboy.
He's a natural middleweight as well. He just boils down to 115 or whatever it is.
No, I was going to say, actually, it'd be like Ricky Hatton deciding that he was no longer a 140 because he's fat in between camps. He was offered the chance to fight Sergio Martinez at 154. And
saying, "I'm more comfortable here."
Yeah,
like, you are more comfortable because you're not having to fucking train very hard.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why Ricky Hatton didn't look as good or wasn't as good at welterweight because he didn't have to work like an animal to make weight.
Yeah.
And I think Brook's going to struggle with that because he's going to coast to make this weight, really, because he's going to fucking struggle to make welterweight. He is a big lad, isn't he?
And
but
he did have to struggle to make it. Of course he did. But hell of a lot of fighters struggle to make their weight. Like,
I've always thought if you make weight too easy, you're in the wrong weight division. It should be a struggle. That's the whole point of it.
It's like Frankie Gavin. He really has to kill himself to make 147.
Well, again, he's a monster at the weight.
Yeah, he's huge. He's absolutely huge. He should be a 154 already, but he just loves the fans and he wants to get down to welter.
But I keep saying to my friend who's coming with me, I keep saying, take the weight aside. Kell Brook wouldn't win anyway.
Yeah, let's say they were meeting at 154, we'd all still pick Golovkin, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Right, including the weight, though, Kell Brook has no idea how he will perform at this weight because he's never been there before.
Exactly.
Well, they're clinging on to the fact that before he starts cutting the weight in camp, when he's around 160, he's performing like a beast in the gym. So they say.
Well, I saw a picture doing that.
On the flip side, boys, it wasn't long ago he was preparing to fight at 147. That was like fucking start of August, was it? When he was
a few weeks before the Vargas fight was still on the go, wasn't it? They were still trying to make that.
Well, like a week before.
Yeah. He was saying he wanted to unify at 147. He said that was his dream, to be the unified welterweight champion. And then
I want Danny Garcia, baby.
A few weeks after that, he said in an interview that he was falling out of love with boxing. And then the Golovkin fight happens, and then bingo, he's a natural middleweight. It is just such fucking nonsense. And in a year's time, when people look back on it, they are going to think, fucking hell, I had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Where do you think
everyone in boxing knows, though, don't they, Shep? Everyone who's got any like real interest in boxing knows that this is a fake fight.
A mismatch, yeah. I haven't seen a single person who's not involved with Sky who has said that this is anything other than a mismatch. And quite a... I mean, Harold Lederman, I watched his little preview shows.
Hey, Harold.
Hey, Harold, yeah, when he's drinking that fucking...
Yeah.
That diarrhea in a glass. Oh, it looks so disgusting. If anyone hasn't seen this, watch the intro clip for Hey, Harold. It's like this weird, like, bitter or something, but it just looks so disgusting. Like the dregs from the end of the barrel. But Lederman was, like, necking his pint of ale, and then he says he basically avoids saying anything about the actual matchup. He just calls the fighters, and he says, like, Golovkin, we all know about him. He's exciting. He's a knockout, blah, blah, blah. He says, Kell Brook, very good fighter, undefeated from England. I can't wait for this fight. And I kept waiting for him to preview the matchup. But he doesn't say a word about it, and I think it's quite obvious that he knows what the rest of us know. And I hope HBO will be really forthright because Jim Lampley's coming over to commentate, and he's going to be in the arena, and I really hope he will not be blowing smoke up Hearn's arse. And
they've got Jim Lampley and Bernard Hopkins over here, and Roy Jones and Callum.
Lampley calls it very straight down the line. I think Lampley will say, let's be real, this is a mismatch because Golovkin wanted a big payday while he sits on his thumbs and waits for Canelo. That's all it is.
Imagine Larry.
There's no way Hopkins will say that. He'll have the perfect opportunity to reel off his story about going from middleweight to light heavyweight and beating up Tarver and going up 14 pounds. So it can be done. That's what will happen.
Hopkins is golden boy, isn't he? And he'll want to protect Canelo, and he'll want to do a bit of PR for Canelo. So he might be saying, maybe he'll be critical of Golovkin. I don't know. Maybe he'll be critical of the matchup because he'll want Canelo to look better. Can I just say, before I forget? I saw a picture earlier of Liam Williams stood next to Brook when they were sparring, presumably, and Williams is noticeably bigger. Not he doesn't dwarf him or anything, but he's a head taller. His shoulders are a lot wider. And I was going to say, A, does Williams struggle to make the weight? And B, I haven't seen if he's expressed any sort of opinion on this because he's a middleweight who's sparred Brook plenty of times, right?
He sparred him, I think, 5 times in total, and that was over a 2-week period. I think they started off doing 4 rounds and they were doing 6. It was quite early in Liam's training because he had a bit of a break after the Corcoran fight. So he was, if you look at him, you can see he's a bit heavier than he would be otherwise. That's why they started off doing.
Yeah.
That's why they started off doing 4 rounds.
Has he said anything that can be repeated in terms of what he thought of Brook's power or anything like that? Or
he's told me Cal's very skillful. He's very good at pivoting around the sides. Liam, as you can imagine, his aim in that spar is to get Cal towards the ropes. But Liam is, when he turned, all his amateur fights, senior fights were at middleweight, 75 kilos. When he turned pro, he was fighting like I think he was like 11 stone 9 in his second pro fight. So it has been a struggle at different points to get to 154, but I think he's cracked it. He's one of these who does the whole water loading thing. Drinks like 10 he drinks, what is it? I think it's 10 litres of water a day, which is equivalent to 20 pounds of weight. So he has that water cycle, so the day before a weigh-in it all drops out. So Liam is one of the biggest light middleweights I've seen. If you see a picture of him at the weigh-in, he looks extremely skinny. Even Gary Kokoran, who's coming up from relatively recently from welterweight, looked a bit bigger than Liam. On fight night, he looked, his midsection like triples in size. He's quite thick in the body.
Can you see him moving to 160 in the future?
No.
You think he's comfortable at 154 and sort of set at the weight?
I think he's got his routine now at 154, and he's had a Commonwealth title fight against Lomax, a British title eliminator, and obviously 2 British title fights. So I think he's got his sort of routine set now, how he makes weight with the check weights and everything. So I can see why Brook, chose to spar him, because he's a bit of a lump at light middleweight. But Cal Brook's not just fighting at light middleweight; he's going up again, isn't he? And as good as I think Liam is, he's quite clearly not Golovkin level. And Liam Williams and Liam Smith are probably the best Cal Brook has sparred, in this camp, and they obviously are a way off Golovkin at this stage.
There's a huge leap between Liam Smith and Golovkin. But no disrespect to anyone who's sparring him. But should we, lads? Can I take Carpi? I don't think I got your prediction in terms of the rounds.
Well, I think that Golovkin's going to be told to maybe carry him a little while and not bomb him out earlier on, because they're very cautious where he comes across in the media, aren't they? I don't think they'll want anyone coming away from this fight to be like, oh, what a gross mismatch that was.
If he carries him,
I don't mean carry him
in the States, though.
I don't mean carry him late into the fight. I just mean carry him to the midpoint, like between 5 and 7, to knock him out. I don't think he's going to go in there and bomb him out early. 1, because Golovkin never seems to do that anyway, and 2, like I say, I don't think they'll want him to just go out there and destroy him early doors.
He does tend to side, especially in the first round, doesn't he?
If Brook starts well, boys,
land a few shots. Sorry, Dewey, go on.
Go on, Dewey.
I think if Brook starts well, Golovkin will have to, say if Brook cracked Golovkin with the right hand and he thought, all right, he looks quite sharp, I think Golovkin will end it early.
Oh, of course.
If Brook starts really tentatively, Golovkin's probably going to carry him to the 4th or 5th. But even that, boys, say if you went to the 5th, 15 minutes of carrying someone is a very long time. I can't imagine it'd last a lot longer than that.
Well, in the Lemieux fight, you thought, just watching it, even from the first 30 seconds when Lemieux couldn't do anything, you thought Golovkin could end this any time he wanted to, and he didn't. He stepped up midpoint, didn't he? Just up the pressure, started landing more right hands on him.
He very quickly I think apparently he insists this. The jab wasn't a conscious plan. He just went out, started throwing the jab to kind of establish a bit of range, and found that it was landing like over 50%, and thought, all right, I'll keep doing this for a bit and see how he responds to it. And then I think he realised after about 3 rounds that Lemieux didn't have a plan and didn't have any way of adjusting to it. And then he thought, look, I should get this guy out of here now. Like he's offering nothing. And you saw it with the Wade fight, didn't you, last time out? Obviously, Wade is a level below Brook as well, to be fair, where after about half a round, it was just obvious that Wade couldn't hurt him and couldn't keep him off. And then Golovkin very quickly went through the gears. And I've got a feeling that maybe after Brook will move a lot the first couple of rounds, maybe after a couple of rounds, there might be a couple of exchanges, maybe in the 3rd or the 4th, and Golovkin will very quickly realise, this guy isn't a middleweight. Quite simply, he's not a middleweight. I've got to get rid of him. And I would say 5 or 6. But I've got a horrible feeling it might go into the second half, and then Hearn will hang on to that. And in every interview from now on, he'll refer to it as Brook taking Golovkin into the second half of the fight.
Don't you think, though, there's two. Like I look at it more Cal Brook's side of things. I've heard of quite a few people. He definitely is not fighting again after this fight. This is it. So if you're getting paid regardless, and you feel the power in the 3rd round, like you feel enough so you can quit by saving face. So you take a body shot, do a Macklin, lie on the floor. Like he still gets his money anyway. If he's not going to, If he's not going to fucking fight again, why like check him as far as you can? What's the point?
I do know what you mean. I think if he gets knocked down, he might think, do I really need to get up? Like, I've been legitimately knocked down.
And also, the referees, because, like, obviously they shouldn't, but you go into a fight, they know that this is a welterweight fighting a middleweight, and they know that he's the middleweight's like one of the biggest punches in boxing. I think it'll be 2 or 3 clean shots on the bounce, and it'll be like they'll be looking to stop it, especially if Kell shows any signs of looking at the corner or anything.
If we get one of those,
it won't be like Martin Murray, because Martin Murray, for all his faults, he's got quite a lot of. He's a bit average, but like when he was getting hit, he was like smiling, saying, "Come on, more."
Yeah, he was.
Cal Brook won't be doing any of that. I can't see that happening in this place.
I can't remember who told me, but someone certainly did, that Howard Foster's a referee.
Nice.
He's an IBF referee, isn't he? So he could be.
Brilliant. If we get some fucking Macronelli, who did he get stopped against? Mackenzie style stoppage. Oh, fucking hell!
It'd be so funny if Kell Brook lands like a 1-2. Golovkin takes 1 step back and he just runs it.
I said this the other day, and this is the way I want the weekend to go. If one of them has to win, Brook or Edwards, I'd rather Brook win than Charlie Edwards. I hate him that much.
Could you imagine a Brook win? Like, by any... Say, like, he hits Golovkin with a jab and Golovkin twists his ankle and he can't carry on. Can you just imagine it?
Fair play to him if he wins. Yeah, no complaints from me. If he wins, then fair. Unless it is, like you say, Brook twists his ankle.
A situation where like the doctor stops it because Golovkin cuts his own eye by accident or something mental like that, or it's a no contest or something, But you'd have to think surely there'll be a rematch clause if Golovkin loses. Surely.
Hearn said that.
Hearn said there is.
Yeah, Hearn said. Coogan said, what would be next for Kell Brook? And he went, well, if he wins, the Golovkin fight again because it'd be massive.
Yeah. No, but yeah, that's Hearn twisting it. Golovkin would 100% have a rematch clause, 100%. He is absolutely the A side.
Imagine
all the belts.
Imagine for a second if Brook does win. Like we all give Tyson Fury no chance before, and we was like, oh, he's going to get knocked out. And then now we're on about the rematch, like, oh,
but we all said, even when we picked Klitschko, we said that look, there is a way Fury can win this fight. Like there's a route to victory, as we keep saying.
I didn't think there was.
If he does certain things, he has a chance to win. I just don't see any way Brook can win, unless there's a freak accident or something.
There is. I thought they were trolling in the WhatsApp, but I've just been looking, and there is a chance that the fight will get called off.
What? Are they being serious in there?
Yeah, Ron Lewis tweeted half an hour ago, Golovkin cut short the number of interviews he did today at the press conference as he was feeling unwell.
Oh. Well, let's don't even talk about that because we'll jinx it. Actually, that'd be brilliant. Burn loses loads of money. That's great. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'd rather
go ahead with Haskins Hall headline in pay-per-view.
No, it'd be Ben against the fella.
Wait, like you said, Cal, it'd be AJ doing pads for 8 rounds in the ring.
But I thought everyone was just trolling on, like, they were just trying to get something whipped up, but it's come from a source. Ron Lewis, I don't know what kind of a source it is. He's a fat bastard.
Ron Lewis is the Times journalist. He's quite reputable and fairly trustworthy. He
wouldn't just be making it up, would he?
No, I don't think so. But equally, Golovkin feeling unwell and just going to bed early in itself, that's fine. Like, it's not as if he was vomiting at the press conference and turning yellow. And we will forget he fought Rosado when he had the flu and still knocked him out. So,
has Golovkin ever fought anyone with Brook's power?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, Brook has middleweight power. This has been proven by the fact that he's never fought middleweight before.
Imagine them chocolate brownies at middleweight are going to be packing some power, aren't they?
At the end of the day, though, if you think, he did stop Carson Jones, who then ended up fighting Brian Rose at middleweight. So if you think about it, he stopped a middleweight in the past.
You're thinking what I'm thinking. Golovkin is unwell. The belts are all mysteriously vacated. Brian Rose appears in the top 15 of all the sanctioning bodies on Saturday morning, and then it's Rose versus Brook with no refund. The tagline on the pay-per-view is no refund, right? dear. Let's do just a couple of questions. I know we're going way over, but I've got just a couple of good ones that we've been sent in. So just to be clear, absolutely no one's picking Brook. Good. I think even if Golovkin's only at 90% because he might be feeling a bit ill, he's still going to win. So hopefully it doesn't get called on. Right now, a couple of questions. Sam's already answered this one. Cal and Dewey, who would you prefer to lose on Saturday? Only one of them can lose. Brook, Charlie Edwards, or Conor Benn?
I'll go first. I don't mind Conor Benn. So I don't want him to lose. I think he'll be in a fun fight in the future. Between Edwards and Brook.
Yeah, so if you pick Edwards, that means Brook is going to win. It's got to be Brook. I won't be able to take it if Brook wins because of how Hearn will be.
Yeah, if Charlie Edwards wins a world title, I don't think he'd be world champion for too long. Saying that though, maybe Carl Brook would run with win the belt and then vacate, and then retire rather than fight Golovkin again.
So what? Only one of them can lose. Is that the
only one of them can lose? Yeah, the other two have to win. So who are you choosing?
Oh, Brook, you got to nip that in the bud. Get him out of the sport.
So you're prepared for as long as Eddie looks like a twat in the main event, you're prepared to give Pigface Edwards a world title.
Yeah, Pigface Edwards is like, I'm not going to hear about. He's not going to be like shoved down our fucking throats like Cal Brook will be if he wins this.
Yeah, exactly. Brook will be on he'll be on fucking EastEnders and stuff, won't he?
Yeah, and with, like Charlie Edwards, he'll win. He'll do his interview with the AFL, and then he'll be forgotten till he's fourth on the card when AJ fights next year.
Yeah, then he'll be below Callum Smith in another WBC silver title fight.
Yeah, so I'm not that. He annoys me. He's annoying. He looks like a rat, but I don't really care about him.
Right. Not the nicest question in the world, though. Who thought of that?
What? Sorry.
Who thought of that question?
The question was from Adam Passfield. I don't know him.
I'm imagining that's the type of person who would come up with a human centipede. That's not a nice question.
Yeah, the next big pod account follows him, I can see. So that's
I follow some random
questions.
I tried clearing that up when I had access to that account.
I know.
The other one is there quick
next
question from Macho Grande. Is there any one thing that Brook does better than Golovkin at any weight? Right. In the ring,
maybe hand speed.
Is there any one thing, Dewey, anything at all that Brook does better than Golovkin? Defending the IBF title, he's had a lot more mandatories than Golovkin's had. That's true.
I think he makes welterweight easier than Golovkin.
I don't even know about that. Golovkin will probably make it. I reckon. I'm still convinced he could fight at like 152 if he had to. Anyway,
he's better English, more English than Golovkin. I'm reaching here.
He speaks fractionally better English, doesn't he? He's slightly
and that's debatable.
Yeah, it's pretty
close. I'll tell you what, you might know more about football than Golovkin does. Did anyone see that interview with Sky Sports News? Golovkin on football, like, I like Man United, they fight. I like West Ham, all team, all fans.
He just repeated the name. He repeated the name of every team in the league, didn't he? Pretty much.
Yeah.
He just went,
and then with there's different cliche after.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. I like fight. I like good fight.
He said
I know he speaks 4 languages, but it wasn't until this week I realised how limited his actual vocab is, because we usually see him with the sound bites at the end of a fight with Max Kellerman, and you just assume that he can carry on speaking about different things, but his vocab is actually quite limited in the longer interviews.
English really isn't very good, considering he's been living in America for like 4 years now. But I think it's partly his accent. His accent's very strong. Quite often he'll say something, but you'll only pick up like 1 or 2 words out of 5. He'll say a phrase like "Thank you very much to my fans," and it will just sound like "Thank you much, my fans," and it's really strange.
That sounded like Vladimir Klitschko.
No, but Vlad's English is amazing. Vlad's got like a fucking.
Can you do an impression of Vlad's magic hand?
I don't know what that is.
Go on, he's waving his right hand about. Shake the magic hand. Don't worry.
I don't know what it is. I've never heard of that.
Give the listeners your Donny baseball.
No,
you do Donny better than Donny does.
No, it's pressure now. I might record a voice clip, but no. I've got to do it organically.
Can you do a Rocco one?
No, stop it. Go away. I'm asking questions to you lot. Right, we've got a couple more, and then we'll end on a question about Paul Smith because that seems appropriate. Okay, Cal, here's one for you. It seems a lot of British boxing media think Kell Brook is the best middleweight in the world. Why did they never mention this before? There's a question for you. Why has Johnny Nelson never mentioned Kell Brook's middleweight credentials before this week?
Well, Johnny Nelson is a knobhead, and he said about 6 months ago, Golovkin won't be beat by anyone. But like, I think he was talking up as far as 168, maybe even 175. He didn't really specify, but he pretty much said anyone around his division. But now some little fucking idiot's going to come from 147, and suddenly it's a 50-50, and he thinks Kell will do it, especially if he goes to war with him early on. Yeah, fuck off, Johnny.
That was a weird one, wasn't it? Bloody hell. Right,
I think they had like a little like way in how they should do it, just to try and like, I don't know, it's like kind of justify their point, but they just make it even more ridiculous.
We've got a Paul Smith question, but we've also got a fun question. Dewey, I'll give you the fun one. When was the last time there was a regular Sky main event that was better on paper than Crawler Linares, which is a really good fight for regular Sky? I thought that was on pay-per-view for some reason. I only found out this week that it was on regular Sky. Can you remember the last main event on normal TV on a Saturday night that was better than that?
I've got one.
Easily. Froch against Bute was probably on par, wasn't it?
You think that's better? I don't know.
Of course it was.
No, but this is it's almost a unification. Froch against Bute was Froch in the Last Chance Saloon, you know.
Yeah, coming off a loss against Ward, and then Bute was
but they were
allegedly dunked by everyone.
I don't think how top super middleweights match up on paper, you know.
Well,
they were still two of the three top super middleweights, though, which you could argue Crawler and Linares are two of the three top lightweights.
Yeah, and also I do think Crawler and Linares will be action.
Yeah,
that should be really fun.
You're not allowed to say questions against Broadhurst.
I've just dug up that quote from Coogan during the Olympics saying, "People giving our Olympic boxers abuse is a disgrace. Compare competing in the Olympics to your best achievement." I don't know if he was talking to himself there. The man who rented a camera off Eddie Hearn 3 years ago. But anyway, sorry, I just came across that.
No, you stole Jane Couch's gig anyway. That's what she wanted to do, allegedly, wasn't it? Go around interviewing people. Coogan picked her idea.
She did do it, just not very well.
Yeah, she's not the most kind of affable interviewer, is she?
She's not charismatic.
Do you think he was affable, that big fucking horrible grey bastard?
Here we go. I love your rivalry with Coogan.
Wait, Shep, do your Coogan Cassius impression then.
What am I saying?
Just do the intro. He's Coogan Cassius on TV.
Right, okay. This Coogan Cassius He's a bit like Golovkin. You only understand like one in every 3 words. The way he says Marbella, it gets me every time.
I hate it when you listen to him. You can hear him breathing over the interview. Like,
yeah.
No, the worst thing about him is like in every interview he has to mention how hard he fucking works. Yeah. Him and Eddie talking about how much graft they put in.
Yeah.
He looks like he would fucking stink as well. If you smelt him, he looks like he would absolutely hum.
Doesn't he smell them fucking like half cigars and all?
Yeah, what was it? Rocco called him the bend over of boxing or something.
I wish we got Terry on because he is really looking forward to the pay-per-view on Saturday. I don't think he's even watching it.
No, he will. He likes Golovkin. He likes Golovkin and Manny.
No, but he's a mismatch as well. That's the thing.
No, but he'll watch it. He'll watch it on his Cody box, won't he? He'll come in from his like 1 hour shift.
Honestly, you guys, if you see a man begging in South London in the near future, it'll almost certainly be Terry. The man works about 3 hours a week. It's ridiculous. He is so lazy in a job where he just has to sit down.
And then he moans about Uber taking all the fares.
He moans about having to scrimp on his Asda shop when he's worked 2 hours in the last month.
He spends more time on his weekly shop than he does working.
Yeah, literally, yeah. It's about the same. Right, the last question to finish up. we've got, where is it? Sorry, it's about Paul Smith. It's a great question. What do we think of Hearn saying Paul Smith has earned another shot? Because if anyone missed it, in the interview yesterday, Hearn said, quote, I think Paul Smith did enough in the 2 performances against Abraham and the performance against Ward to earn another big fight. What do we think about that, just as a statement?
What would the big fight be, though? Because you could put him in with Martin Murray now, or maybe Fegan.
Hearn said that, but he said, would it be for a world title, though? As if like that was a possibility that they'd get a vacant belt. It's insane. He also said he might just send him off to Germany again, I guess.
Yeah, but like a fight against Fegan is like probably European level, isn't it? That's not a...
It's a fight. That's quite well matched. Yeah.
Paul wouldn't go near that. He thinks
he wouldn't.
10 times that.
He would
I think he's quite big business in Germany.
He would say, I would do that if there was a world title on the line. Like he said, he said like, oh, I'd love to fight Martin Murray, but I'm not going to do it unless there's a major title on the line. And you just
but Shep, the problem is when you get guys like Charlie Edwards getting world titles for doing relatively nothing in their careers, then other fighters are going to feel entitled too.
Yeah, it's a problem. I know what you mean. You sort of...
And he's Scouse.
Let's be real though, Charlie Edwards in 8 fights has probably got a better win on his fucking record than Paul Smith.
Yeah, he's had a better...
Well, as good as.
Yeah.
The win with Louis Norman is on par with Tony Dodson, isn't it? Tony
Dodson 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, good show, lads. We haven't done... does anyone want to quickly say anything about Gonzalez, who's fighting after Brook on the HBO card? Kamagai, Soto Cuadras, undercard, and then, what's his face? Gonzalez against Cuadras, good fight. Chocolatito going for a 4th lineal title in a 4th weight.
His 3rd lineal title in a 4th weight.
Third lineal.
Yeah, it'd be his 4th title.
I think we've missed off talking about some good fights.
When I saw the Cuadras trains with Herida, and then I saw the picture of Cuadras that was circulating where he's got a back like a golf ball, I went to tweet Herida, but he's blocked me, which was a bit unfortunate.
Ariza, yeah, I think I'm blocked by him as well. I made a joke.
Already?
No,
Mimo.
Oh, Mimo. No, I'm not blocked by him. Okay, I'll
Mimo.
You know that bread man boxing, the trainer. I think he trains Julian Williams, doesn't he, and a few others in 154. He's a really good guy for sort of giving a sort of neutral perspective on fights that don't involve Julian Williams. And he's just tweeted, weight jumping is very different above 147. You'll see. And I think that might be telling and a good note to end on. Yeah, I think he has got a point. Yeah, going from welter to middle is not the same as going from lightweight to, doing what Terence Crawford's done is not the same as going from welter up to sort of super middleweight. Yeah.
Shep, sorry to start.
Yeah, go on, mate. Yeah.
Sorry to start another point before we go, but when has what Cal Brook is doing been done before? Because I'm no historical anorak, but I was struggling to think of examples, maybe apart from Mosley beating De La Hoya, but De La Hoya wasn't what Golovkin is at middleweight now, in my opinion.
Well, I suppose, Ray Robertson obviously went from welter to middle, didn't he? And beat the lineal, beat LaMotta, who I think I don't know if he was actually world champion at the time, but beat him 5 times.
Roy Jones going to heavyweight.
Yeah. But then again, he fought the weakest champion, didn't he? He did. It's not.
It's probably Sugar Ray, isn't it?
If Jones had gone up,
like Leonard Hagler.
It's a really good question. Maybe. Well, I guess it would be Leonard. Yeah, Leonard Hagler is the last one, really.
Duran
against Barkley, maybe.
Yeah.
Or Duran against Moore, although that was only at welterweight.
Well, Barkley was coming off. Was Barkley coming off losses when he?
No,
was Duran coming off losses when he beat Barkley?
I think Barkley was undefeated. Duran was coming off the Hagler loss, I think, or maybe losing to Vinny Paz.
Because when Nigel Benn beat Barkley, he was coming off loads of losses then when he ran Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley kind of fell apart and lost 4 and 6 or something. It was a weird one.
You know what? Speaking of this era, I went to an evening with Michael Spinks this week, and I don't usually do them because they're usually old fighters who are skinned and they're cashing in. But Spinks was quite good. The only reason I did go is because I think he's the best light heavyweight of all time. Mm. And I tell you what, we don't get fighters, the way he talked about boxing, we don't get fighters like that now.
No,
he's from that whole era, like Duran and Hagler. Obviously different weights.
But Spinks was a guy. Yeah, he couldn't get a fight with Hagler, could he? He wanted one for years, and then ended up having to go up to heavyweight.
He did talk about that. He said that there were talks about fighting Hagler, but the reason why he was knocked on the head because when Spinks won gold in the Olympics, and he was a middleweight then. Now he's at 165 amateur middleweight, whereas when the possibility of fighting Hagler came up, that would have had to be in a 160 because Marvin wouldn't budge, and he just said it was impossible for him to drop like 15 pounds.
Yeah, I think there was. I remember. I think Leonard once said it was kind of Hagler's hypocrisy. He wanted to drag everyone up from welter, Hearns and Duran and all the rest, but he wouldn't go up to fight Spinks himself. And then I think didn't Spinks fight? I might be completely wrong. Didn't he fight Holyfield in the end or something up at heavy?
No, he fought Holmes twice. He ended Holmes.
Sorry, yeah.
Holmes was going to equal Rocky Marciano's record, wasn't he? And Spinks. It was a bit controversial. I think he won a majority decision.
Yeah, it was
and
close like that. Yeah, and then
tell a lie. He won a unanimous decision. And then they had a rematch, and he won a majority.
And it completely fucked Holmes' career, really. And yeah, it was a funny one.
Amazing, though. Like he did make a good point. He won like Olympic gold, and then probably the best light heavyweight of all time. Good wins over Dwight Muhammad Kwai, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, Yaki Lopez, and he's only remembered for the Tyson loss.
Yeah, he's incredibly underrated. I think Spinks. That's a really good point because when you actually sit down and look at his record, he was.
That whole era of light heavyweights is crazy as well.
Yeah, and they're all forgotten now, aren't they? Like even guys like like all the guys who went to Nation of Islam, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad and Right Muhammad Kawi and all the rest of it, and who's the other one? Matthew Saad Muhammad and all the rest of them were all unbelievable fighters who no one would know now if you showed them a photo. I think I actually posted a photo a few months ago of Matthew Saad Muhammad when he was getting his eye stitched up, and I said, like, does anyone know who this is? I think only one. I think maybe it was Charles who we had on the show before. He said, I think that's Matthew Saad Muhammad, but I'm not exactly sure. And I probably wouldn't have known it if I hadn't come across the image. But they're just forgotten about, and it is sad. But I think let's wrap it up there. I think it's been a good show, and we'll look forward to saying we told you so to all the casuals next week, I guess, when Kel gets knocked out. Right. Cheers, Dewey. We'll speak again Monday, Tuesday. Cheers.